That's us. Everybody, we're doing this little live stream. Hope you guys can see us. Ready? Maybe slide over to maybe. Okay. Anybody hear us? Let's see. Make sure. Check some connection. Public. Says got 0 viewers. All right, guys. So I'm just doing a live stream with my Navy buddy here. We're going to talk about Navy stuff, Navy stories. Anybody watching? Somebody's watching. You get someone hit like already. You guys have any questions or anything? I want to make sure everything's good before I start really talking too much. You guys hear me okay? You guys see us okay? Over my friend's house, and I'm not really used to this setting this up, so getting a little practice. So once again, you guys, I got 3 viewers, 2 likes. Could you guys let me know everything sounds okay? Let's see. I usually do my live streams later at night. I get people watching. This should actually be a better time. All right, guys, please let me know if you hear me and see us okay. I want to make sure everything's going great before we actually start stuff like that. So someone please leave a comment. Everything looks okay. Okay, thanks, LR. Where are you from? So once again, I'm here with my Navy buddy Joe. When did we meet? About 94?
94, yeah.
Right. So it was
about commissioned.
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah. About the time when the Stout was commissioned. I think before, maybe we were in pre-det over in at the barracks at Norfolk for a while.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we thanks, you're from Maryland. So we met in Norfolk, Virginia on a first Navy ship about 93, 94. And so let's talk about what do you think our first port call was?
First one, well, let's see. The first one would have been, let's see, we were commissioned in Galveston. So we were at Galveston, and then, gosh, I would say the first port call, I think we might have gone to Florida somewhere.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, probably Florida. And we spent a lot of time in Puerto Rico.
Oh, that's right.
Remember that?
Puerto Rico. Yeah.
Roosevelt Roads, Puerto Rico.
Okay, so we met together on our first ship called the USS Stout DDG-55, and he was an electronics technician, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was undesignated, didn't have no job or anything, and so let's talk about.
Let's see, where did we go?
If you guys have any questions about like the Navy or some of the places we went, let us know.
We did the Mardi Gras. Remember the
yeah.
Mardi Gras trip? That was a little later, maybe. What was that, 95, maybe 96? We got, I think I have a postcard from every place we went. We got Corfu. Remember Corfu?
Yeah, we were in Corfu, Greece. Yeah.
That was the Mediterranean trip. We only did one deployment when I was in.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
In 1996.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So 96, we went on like a 6-month cruise through the Mediterranean, and probably went to like 12 countries, 14 countries, something like that.
That sounds about. Yeah, we went to a lot. Let's see.
And some of those countries are multiple times, like in Spain.
Right, Mallorca.
Mallorca, yeah. I went to that like 3-4 times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We did Mallorca. We went to Taormina, Italy. We went to Izmir, Turkey.
Yeah. Izmir, Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We went to Israel. We stopped in Haifa, Israel.
Oh, yeah. I went to Haifa, Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We went to very close. No, we went to Trieste, Italy.
Trieste.
Trieste.
Yep. Trieste.
Went somewhere in France. I forgot where.
Right. We went to Toulon,
Oh,
France.
Yeah, I went to Toulon, France.
Which is the major port, the Navy port there.
We went there a couple times, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we stopped in Cannes and Nice.
Yeah, I went to Cannes,
Mhm.
France, right?
Mm-hmm.
Monaco, right?
Yep.
Yep, went to Monaco.
Yeah, we went to Monaco. That's right.
Yeah. Where else did we went to Turkey, went to Israel, went to Greece, went to Puerto Rico, I think we went to Canada,
Yep. We went to Halifax, Nova Scotia.
went to St. Martin.
Oh yeah.
St. Martin was pretty fun. Yeah.
Yep.
St. Martin was pretty good.
The Puerto Rico there. We got Mallorca. How did you like Mallorca?
Palma, yeah, we call
Palma de Mallorca.
Palma de Mallorca. That was a pretty good place.
Yeah, wasn't it?
It's like, I don't know, it was really cool. I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's actually the island where Rafa Nadal's from. I think the tennis player.
Oh right,
I
you're
think
right.
he's from there.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
We just watched we watched a documentary on him. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he's from there. So let's talk about maybe some Puerto Rico story. What kind of stories can you think of?
Puerto Rico. Let's see, what's going on in Puerto Rico. Is this like the PG version?
No, anything.
Oh really?
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna be uncensored here. Okay, we're gonna talk about the Navy stuff here going on.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of. There's areas where you go and then areas where you don't. I rode my bike around there a lot, and I have never felt more afraid of my life.
You felt afraid there.
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Yeah.
People don't. I mean, in America, you got a bike lane and everybody kind of respects that. But in Puerto Rico, they just drive like out of my way, you know. And then it was kind of, I got a little nervous there. But what else? Let's see, we did Puerto Rico. I mean, it was fun. We did a lot of short stays there because we did a lot of submarine hunting there.
Oh,
right.
Yeah,
So,
we did. Yeah. And so we pulled into Puerto Rico several times. Had some wild stories. Remember, these they don't have them anymore. They had a lot of brothels there. Remember?
Yes, they did.
So when we went there, when we went to Puerto Rico about 94, 95, 96, they had a lot of brothels there in San Juan. But for some reason, maybe 10 years later, they closed them all. All those got closed. So, of course, what did Navy guys do? Kind of drink, spend our money, chase women, stuff like that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
So you guys might not know, Puerto Rico used to have a lot of brothels, and for some reason they kind of closed them down. I'm not sure exactly when. Probably around 2000 or so they closed them all down.
Yeah, we used to pull into the Ponce.
Oh yeah,
Ponce.
yeah.
And
Ponce.
one of the places was a major tourist location where they had the big cruise ships and stuff. And then another side was, a little more like domestic where everybody. I
think we were always by the Bacardi factory.
Bacardi factory. Yeah.
I remember. Didn't they give us some free Bacardi or something?
I missed out on that.
Oh, you did? Oh, yeah.
Did you get some?
Yeah, because we were right there at the Bacardi factory. I think they were giving some away. I think. Yeah. So we did that. Yeah, the clubs in Puerto Rico, it's kind of wild there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Things in Puerto Rico are more wild than they are before than they are now. I think Puerto Rico tries to clean up a little bit and not try to be more like the U.S. So.
Right. And then, did you speak Spanish at the time?
No.
I had some high school Spanish, and
I remember we were going around and we were trying to use your Spanish. We're looking for a place to play pool.
Right.
And you knew there were billiard or something, billiards.
Yeah.
Billiards.
It was a struggle. I mean, when you learn it from high school, you learn the basics. So, like, ¿Dónde está el restaurante? And, and
yeah,
stuff like that. But you quickly go, and you know what? It's a great way to learn Spanish. And
it is. Yeah. And
people in Puerto Rico, they speak enough English and you speak enough Spanish that you can kind of meet in the middle.
Mm-hmm. True.
You know.
I think these days, probably 20 years, 20 years later, people probably speak more English, probably, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because people from Puerto Rico, I think they actually have a U.S. passport. There's no passport required to go to Puerto Rico. You just go back and forth like that. I think
Yeah,
so.
because I mean, we had a lot of guys on the ship that were sailors that were from Puerto Rico.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, quite a few.
I think a lot of Puerto Ricans live like in the Northeast, like the U.S., like Connecticut, New York, stuff like that. So everything's still okay, guys? Not sure if I did everything right because usually I have like 30 or 40 viewers, but let's see, 8 o'clock. I don't know. Maybe it's a really odd time here. I'm
Mhm.
not sure.
Remember Viaque's Island?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Remember that we used to shoot the starburst at night and it would illuminate the sky, and then we just pummel that island with
Yeah.
5-inch
yeah.
gun shells and
Vieques.
stuff. Yeah.
And so in Puerto Rico, there's an island called Vieques, and there's an area of the island that it was used as a targets. So on the ocean, by the ocean, they put a lot of targets, and from the Navy ship, we would just go back and forth and shoot the targets on the shore. But I guess on the other side of the island was actually a city, and those people really didn't like the idea of us shooting. We're probably like, I don't know, 3 miles, 4 or 5 miles away.
Yeah.
I think the gun shoots about 13 miles. I think.
Were there really? That's people living on that island, huh?
Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah,
Did not know that.
yeah. So on the other side of the mountain, yeah, people were living there, and
Wow.
of course, they didn't like the idea of us shooting the island.
Yeah.
So in the Navy, we still do target practice. So they had all these targets set up, and we just go back and forth and just keep shooting at them and trying to hit things and readjust things and stuff like that. What else? We shoot drones, like we tow drones and shoot those down.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, they'd have a small airplane like a Cessna 150 would fly right by, I mean, as seas were calm, they'd fly right by the helicopter deck, the helo deck, and then about like 30 seconds later, it was just a long cable this thing was towing, and it would tow this big, long, circular metal thing, and then the Sea Whiz would just shoot it, and it would just rip that thing apart, and then it would start shooting the cable.
It starts shooting the cable?
Yeah, the bullets started shooting the cable.
Oh, jeez.
And they had yeah, it was amazing. That
wow.
thing is pinpoint accurate. Good. My gosh.
So what I was talking about is on the Navy ships, I think they're getting rid of them, but they had like this Gatling gun system that shoots like 1,500 rounds a minute or 6,000.
6,000 sounds right.
I think shoots like right around 6,000 bullets per second, but they're these big 20 millimeter bullets. I think depleted uranium. I think they got rid of uranium, but they used to shoot these big heavy bullets, and it'll just knock down missiles and planes and stuff like that. And it sounded like a chainsaw or something.
Yeah, it sure did. And it shook the whole ship. The 5-inch would go boom, and the ship would kind of shake a little bit. But when that when that Sea Whiz started shooting, it would just, the whole ship would vibrate. It's that powerful.
Oh yeah.
And our ship was what, 500 feet long?
505 feet. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny how I can remember something. I can remember a lot of things I can't remember. I don't know, but I remember a lot of that. So what else? Oh, we shot a lot of missiles too. There.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that. Let's see. Well, we shot the missiles in I want to say we were shooting them on the deployment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not for real life though, right? Just target practice.
Yeah, just target practice.
Did target. Yeah.
That was the time when Turkey and Greece were kind of going at it, and I think we got hazardous duty pay.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Or wasn't that Serbia?
That was another time. That was toward the end, like 96. What that was on deployment too. Yeah, Operation
Red Wings? No.
Enduring.
Freedom? No.
Operation. Oh man, I don't know. It was Yugoslavian campaign. I forget the name of the campaign, but we were providing support when they had the helicopters going over Yugoslavia, and then if they were coming back to the carrier and they crashed, we would pick them up. So we were in that.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So sometimes on the aircraft carrier, they got the planes landing and taking off. So what they do is they have another ship behind it, just in case something happens. They could pick up people that crashed or landed in the water, stuff like that. Or sometimes people on the aircraft carriers get blown off. So we'd be there to pick them up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Should we remember the story about the?
Oh, you got it.
You remember when we were near Greece? We were in the Adriatic, and there was a drone missile, cruise missile type drone plane, an unmanned plane. They launched it, and it was in the air.
What? Where? Where?
This is in the Mediterranean. We were
Mediterranean.
launching the VLS, the SM2s,
Mm-hmm.
and we were trying to target this drone in the sky, and it was really far away. I remember, I mean, it was just far away as I could see, like at least 40 or so miles. It was just nothing but clouds on the horizon, and the drone was in the clouds. And we were with some cruisers and another Arleigh and I think we were third on the list. So like the lead ship gets to shoot the missile 1st,
Mm-hmm.
and it was boom, and then another boom, and then our ship shot. And it was like 4
I
or
remember
5
that now.
missiles going into
I'm
the
starting to
clouds.
remember that now.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And they went in, and they just, oh my God, they were so fast and so loud, and they were just flying, and then they went into the clouds, and then the whole cloud just started glowing, boom, 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 and then they go, what happened? And I guess they weren't supposed to hit the drone, so I think they detonated them before, but the drone got lost, and it landed in Greece in some neighborhood.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So we
jeez.
got in trouble with that. It flew, and it kept going. And they lost control of it, and it went boo into this neighborhood, and it made the newspaper of the Greece, the city of Corfu.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. So I was saying, I'll just try to speak more specific. So on the ships, we were launching missiles to shoot down a big drone, and I guess we weren't really supposed to hit it, but we did hit it, and it landed in a city in Greece, and they got mad at us. Let me get that chat.
Because they thought it was a live.
Montenegro Paiza, thank you for the 10,000 Colombian pesos. Okay, so he's asking a question here. What is your all-time favorite port where you guys had the most fun? So I've been on a lot of ships. He's only been on one ship, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll talk about what's your favorite port that we went to.
Favorite port? Oh, wow. Gosh. I don't know. Haifa was a good time because they really liked it.
Oh, yeah. Haifa, Israel. We went to Haifa, Israel.
You know what? I got to say France though. I mean, it was such a enjoyable time. We went into when we landed in Toulon, and then they had a tour, and we went into the middle of France where the farms are, and we saw some castles, and then they had this big like an old medieval dinner for us, and we went. It was man, that was a lot of fun.
So for him, it was Toulon? No.
Toulon.
I'm getting confused with Mexico. Yeah, Toulon, France. For me, if I had to go back to one of those, I think I like Palma, Spain. I think I'd go back. Yeah, I think I could go to Palma. Palma de Mallorca is like an island that's part of Spain. It's to the south, and very big beach, very big. Remember that big nightclub? Have you been there? Big nightclub.
It's been a while, but I gotta think about it. You know what was fun is St. Martin. Actually, that was
that was
fun. I
crazy,
almost forgot about that.
Yeah, St. Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an island in Caribbean called St. Martin. I was actually going to say that too. I went back 2 more times. Actually.
Wow, look
I rented a car there twice. Yeah. I went to the same brothels. So,
I didn't go to any of those there. Just
Yeah, I didn't go.
Rico,
Okay.
Were they good?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah.
We went to that casino there.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. We went to that beach. You remember that? It's on the internet where the beach where the airplanes land
Oh,
right
yeah,
on the
yeah,
beach.
yeah,
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 we went there.
Yeah.
And that was crazy.
So in the Caribbean, there's an island called St. Martin, and then half is Dutch, half is French. And on I think it's the Dutch side, they have on the beach, and they have the planes by the airport, and the planes just keep landing over it and taking off and landing, taking off. And
It's so close though,
It's
right?
very,
I mean, you
very
could
close.
almost jump up and hit that plane.
almost.
And when they take off, when they're on the end of the run, when they take off, the jet blast just throws people across the
yeah,
beach. Have you seen
yeah,
that?
yeah.
They tumble into the water.
Yeah, I went back 2 more times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did you ever do it?
Oh yeah, the sand is blast. It's like sand. It's like a sand blaster, just blasting you. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And
Nice.
what's cool is the island of St. Martin is half is French, half is Dutch, and it's funny how they kind of have different laws, but you don't need to cross any borders. You just drive through, and It's pretty cool. Look,
Yeah.
on the French side, we had the nude beach. Did you go there?
Yeah,
You
we
remember
went
that?
to the new beach.
So tell me your nude beach story.
Let's see, what did we do?
Ireland.
Well, we were
I'm
all
trying not to interrupt you.
we had a little bit of we were we were drinking some booze and stuff, and we were having a good time. I mean, we were trying to meet every girl that was naked, but it was like kind of awkward because like some of them were like, it's like we didn't. It was fun. I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was like, what do you do when you're talking to someone and they're naked and they feel perfectly normal, and we were all the ones kind of feeling awkward because it's not American culture, but
Sure.
still, it was awesome. We met some ladies. That was with I don't know if it's a name drop, but we were with some of the more senior guys, and man, those guys, they were really good with the ladies. Yeah, no fear.
So we're talking about a nude beach in St. Martin. There's on the French side. There's a very famous nude beach. I think it's called Orient Beach, and I went back there and actually went snorkeling there. I did take my clothes off. My buddy did though. My buddy did. Yeah. I remember some guys got sunburned. They went naked and they got sunburned on their man parts. Someone suggested to cover your man parts with a sock. Yeah. Okay, so Montenegro Paisa. Hi guys. Very interesting to hear these stories. I am originally from Bosnia, Serbia, and you guys just mentioned missions in Serbia. Very interesting. Yeah. So thanks again from you in your soup chat. Yeah. What we did is it must have been right around '96. I don't remember the history of Bosnia and Serbia, but so what our ship did is we went off the coast of Serbia, Bosnia, I guess, and all we did for like 3 weeks or a month is just go in little circles, and what we're doing was enforcing the no-fly zone, I think. So I guess the U.S. or the UN had a no-fly zone off of Serbia, and I guess if any plane was to fly in that area, the Navy ships could actually just shoot them down. So that's what we were there for. We didn't have to shoot anything down, but that's what our job was in the Navy. We just kind of go off the shore, and any planes that weren't supposed to be there, we shoot them down. So we're helping out with the no-fly zone. Billy Pilly says Sugat Bay in the Philippines are the most fun I had. I've been. Our ship didn't go to the Philippines, but my ship. I went to the Philippines 2 more times in the Navy. Went to Manila. I think we only went to Manila, and then that was a pretty good time. Actually, before I got out, I would go to places I wasn't supposed to. In the military, you're supposed to say we get 30 days. We call it leave, but I'll say vacation. So we get 30 days vacation a year, and you're supposed to say where you're going. And I would say I'm going home, but I would actually go to like Philippines, and I would go to Thailand. I wouldn't tell them because, like if I wanted to go to Thailand, for example, and I'm in the military, you have to put in a request, and you say I want to go to Thailand, and you have to go through a big long process to get approved. And I just kind of cheated, and I would say I'm going home, but I would actually go to Thailand and stuff. So in Philippines, I went to Cebu, went to Angeles City, went to Subic Bay. I went to a couple other areas in the Philippines. It was pretty good. So what do you think the most crazy thing that happened in a port? Well, they almost got someone arrested.
Oh, arrested.
Almost.
Well, I remember
arrested.
I remember when we went to Izmir, Turkey, and there was a statue. I don't know all the details, but I know that there was a statue there of a famous president or leader. And when we pulled in, they said there's not that many rules. Just try and stay low and don't get in any trouble. And they said, for God's sake, don't do anything to the statue in the middle of this city. And so, I mean, I thought, well, why are you telling me? Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to do anything to it. But what happened was an aircraft carrier pulled in. Oh, yeah, I want to say the George Washington, and a bunch of guys got drunk and they climbed on that thing and then they peed on it and then they kicked the whole carrier out of the port. They basically,
I kind of remember it. Yeah.
Oh, and we couldn't believe it. Like the one thing they said don't do. These guys, holy moly! What? Oh, we said, okay, pack your bag. We're leaving. They kicked us out. They kicked the whole fleet out.
Yeah. So our ship was a destroyer, and it had about 500 people, right? 300? 300 people.
350, yeah, something
About
like
350 people.
Mhm.
And it was nice pulling into a port by ourselves, but the problem is sometimes other ships would also pull in, and if an aircraft pulled in with aircraft carrier pulled in with you, they might bring 5,000 people, and they would just ruin our fun times.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It was just this flood of sailors, and then everything would be full, everything would be packed, and
A lot
and there's
of
always
people
chaos.
kind of bickering and fighting and stuff.
There was always more trouble.
It seemed like the people on the aircraft carriers started more trouble for some reason. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, let's see what else. Yeah, and I had to think about this. It's been a while. Let's see what kind of stuff happened.
I remember we were in Italy, and remember Michael DeLeon? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He stole a bottle of wine from a restaurant, and I think he got caught, but they didn't do anything with him. But they do stuff like that. Usually, people just getting drunk and stuff they're not supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. There was he was machinist mate. What was the a GSM? He was a GSM, and it was his last day before he left the Navy, and we were in Palma de Mallorca. And you remember on the roads they always had these deep trenches for like the water to go across. They had these like storm drain tunnels. Well, he was running back to the boat launch to get back onto the Stout, and he was super drunk, and he was running, and he tripped, and he fell on his face, and all his teeth came out, and he was so drunk that he was just laughing so hard.
Really?
And he didn't pick up his teeth like maybe a dentist could put them back in, but it's just all his teeth were gone. He's bleeding, and he gets onto the launch, and we're all sitting on the launch looking at him, and he's like, "Oh my God, my teeth just fell out!" Ha ha ha! And I'm going, "Dude, you get out tomorrow. You're not going to have any dental insurance anymore." He's like, "Ha ha ha! Who cares?" There's no teeth.
Jeez. Oh, jeez.
Oh my God, never forget that. Be careful of booze, kids.
Hey, what's up, FlexTube? How you doing? Were you in search of international criminal or hot girls? LOL. Well, well, let's talk. Well, we'll talk about the girls first. Okay. So, like back then, we didn't use internet on the ship. Like in the modern days, you could use the internet on ship, and you could actually just order stuff on Amazon, and you wouldn't get it in 2 days, but you might get it in 2 weeks. But so nowadays on a Navy ship, you could see something in Amazon, order it, and it would get to the ship maybe in 2 weeks, maybe, or less or more. But back then we didn't use internet, so it's just so boring. We'd have a lot of money. I remember we had to actually use paper checks. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yep. And eventually the Navy went away with paper checks. It was just all direct deposit. So we would cash our checks. Yeah, it was so dumb. We cash a paper check on the ship, and they give us $1,000 of cash, $2,000 cash, and we just had lots and lots of money. And maybe we're out to sea for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and let's say go to Puerto Rico, and all we want to do is spend our money. We have thousands of dollars, and we go to bars, chase women. That was usually the priority for most guys, but
Yeah. Let's see. We went to Nassau. Nassau was actually a good place
Bahamas.
to party.
Bahamas, yeah. Yeah, we went to Nassau, Bahamas. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. I mean, there's a pretty good nightlife there and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Very nice place.
That's probably some of the clearest water I've seen. I remember.
Wow, that was so amazing. I'll never forget that. You remember that?
Yeah.
They had buoys on the top, and then they had ropes going. It must have been at least 50 or 60 feet down, and you could just see the rope all the way down, and where it attached into the seafloor. And it was. Did you swim in the water?
No, I didn't go swimming.
Oh, it was weird because when you can see all the way down, you feel like you're just like it's like when you climbed you know, like a skyscraper, and you look down, you're gonna get that weird
Oh,
feeling.
vertigo. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
vertigo.
Yeah.
And so when I was swimming, I was looking down, and I could see so far down. It was a little disorienting. Never
wow.
felt that before. It was like, oh my god, I'm so high up.
Wow.
But the water was so warm, and you know what? The people were really friendly. They said that there's certain areas we shouldn't go because maybe there's not a lot of I don't know, there's a little bit lawlessness and stuff. But I thought everybody was really nice, and there's a lot of tourism there though. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Bahamas. There's a lot of tourism.
right.
I think these days it's very expensive. I'm not sure.
I see.
Probably yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we were in the Bahamas, and the water is so clear that you could see like the bottom of the ship from the pier. And that's kind of awkward. Usually you can't see the bottom of the ship, but the water's so clear you could see the bottom of the ship, which is really awkward. But the water was really clear there. And
Were you on that? That's when we had a water spout, that ocean tornado.
I think so.
And it
yeah.
ran right over our ship, and I heard it rip some stuff off the front.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Well, you kind of dealt with the yardarm sometimes, didn't you?
Yeah, I climbed up there a lot.
Oh, you didn't. Climb.
It never damaged any of the antennas, radar, and stuff. I think that was the port too, where do you remember quartermaster first class? Oh man, what was I think of his name in a minute, but anyway, he was putting the flags up. They had this long cable on top of the ship with all the pennants, and the radar antenna was spinning around, and he got that thing caught, and it ripped the antenna up and everything. Yeah. Oh my god! It did a lot of damage.
Oh jeez.
Oh, it was a mess.
Oh jeez.
Holy cow!
I remember that.
He was like,
so when he talks out, I'm trying to put it in plain English. So it was in port, right? So we were in port, and sometimes we would fly different colored flags, and sometimes we would actually put a little code in there, like a word in there, but you guys wouldn't, a normal person wouldn't understand. So we had all these big, I'll use civilian terms. Well, we had big ropes with a bunch of pennants and flags, and in port sometimes we still have radars spinning around, and someone got that big rope of flags stuck in a radar, and it just started spinning and chewing things up and destroying things, and we got in big trouble with that.
Yeah. Yeah, because he was doing it while I was on Liberty, so it was oh man, ET1. O'Brien and I, we were both ETs, and we were on Liberty, and we were walking off the ship, and we were look up, and we were like, dude, they put that cable way too close to the radar. Something bad's gonna happen, and we're kind of walking away, watching it, and it just went, and it just pulled this cable, and this is a powerful cable. This is a strong thing, and that radar's like, I want to turn. It was probably a 4 horsepower or 3 horsepower motor, and it was just like, I'm not stopping, and it was a mess. And we just fought rip up, and we're like, run, because they're gonna call us back to fix it. And we just hauled butt out of there. No.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was a mess. What else? Yeah.
What would you say our most boring port was?
Boring.
Most boring, yeah. Trying to think. We always make fun of something. Let's see. Boring. I don't know. I always seem to have fun.
Well,
Some places are just average.
You remember New York?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good time, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
That was Fleet Week.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was wow.
So a couple times I think, or maybe once I did it twice. We went to the ship would pull into New York City, and they had something called Fleet Week. So a bunch of Navy ships would go there, and we did tours and shows and stuff like that. And they made us wear our uniforms out in town. So we had to go walk around New York with our dress uniforms, and people would, I don't know, give us free stuff and
a
stuff.
lot of free stuff. Yeah. A lot of the Broadway shows, people, and they were just so friendly. Everybody, we walked down the street, and everybody's inviting us to join them to the bar or parties and stuff. And met a lot of people, and hooked up and stuff. And we didn't go to the Statue of Liberty because I think it was locked. It was off limits then. We went to the Empire State Building. We went to see Cats, Broadway, and a bunch of stuff. I mean, that city really loves its sailors, so right?
Oh yeah. So we went to Canada once, right?
Yep, Halifax.
Right, went to Halifax, Canada.
Yep.
I don't remember too much about it. I just remember people smoking weed in the park. There's a casino there, maybe. I'm having a hard time because sometimes I go to these places again, but I just want to talk about when me and you were going. So
Yeah, let's see. I was hanging out with Mike Sanders, remember Sanders, and Miller,
Mhm.
and we met a lot of ladies there, and we
he was a ladies' man. You got any pictures of you younger?
let's see.
He was good looking in his younger days, believe it or not.
Let's see. Maybe a
So
few.
he's got a bunch of pictures he'll show you.
Well, that's me in high school. My on my high school date. That was a handsome dude, I guess.
Yeah, you guys see that? I don't know.
Few less pounds.
Let me make sure my calendar's okay.
There's a little bit of a lag, I think.
Okay.
Let's see what else. What were we talking about? Halifax.
Halifax.
Yeah, that's right.
I think we're trying to find a more boring. I think maybe in some of the, like
Boring.
Florida or something. Maybe. I mean, we had fun there too, though. We went to Cape Canaveral, Florida.
Yes, Cape Canaveral. That was a good time. That was a good time.
I remember me and some guys, we rented a car and drove all the way down to, what's that city way down south? Key West?
Oh,
Yeah.
Key Largo and Key
Yeah,
West.
Key West, yeah.
You did that.
Yeah.
That's nice.
We did it in we were dumb. We did it in a convertible with the top down, and we did the whole thing back and forth, and we were just so sunburned. It was ridiculous.
You remember the Volkswagen Rabbit I had, the convertible?
I don't remember that. No.
We used to go to the Virginia Beach a lot and stuff. Yeah, I always got burned.
You always got burned?
Yeah, Halifax was good. I mean, that's a major seaport, right? So they're just used to a lot of sailors and stuff, I suppose. But I remember we were out in the area off of Halifax, and it was nighttime, and it was cloudy, and there was a medium sea state, a lot of ship traffic, and then we lost all our radars. So
you did?
Yeah.
How do we lose our radars?
Well, this Biz 64 had a problem. Every time the ship rocked, there was some kind of a connection problem with the power supply. When the ship tipped a lot, the radar would cut out, and then the 67 blew a power supply, and then I think the spy was down, so we literally didn't have any radars at the time, and I stayed up for 3 days straight trying to fix it.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and then the captain was all nervous because they couldn't see anything, and and they had those two Ollie Burks that got smashed by remember the collisions in Japan?
Oh, yeah.
So when, we thought we were going to get hit, because everybody was worried, and I was just like, it's always a challenge to get parts. So they had to keep flying helicopters to the ship to land and get a part, try and fix the radar. I remember that the most. But actually, we met some cool ladies in Halifax. Had a good time.
So yeah, he's quite the ladies' man then.
Well, yeah, I did have a lot of experience, but but wait, with your buddies, you have a lot more confidence.
Oh yeah.
So it pushes you to try new things.
Yeah.
But what else? Florida was a good time. We went to Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale. Yep. I've been to Jackson. I don't know if our ship went to Jacksonville. That was just when you pull into another American city, it feels like just a little bit. I don't know. It's not as fun. It's not. It's more fun to pull into a foreign country than pulling into an American port.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Halifax.
So tell me about your schooling, like the A school. How was it?
A school? Oh.
So he was an electronics technician. So okay, is that good? Tell me.
Yeah, electronics technician. So worked on so went to school for a while. Got in '92, April '92, and I think I finished school. Sort of like maybe April of '93, so about a year of school.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like college where you take a few courses and you're just in there an hour a day. In the Navy school, you get up early, and for instance, in Chicago, you get up early and you shovel snow, and then and then you go to the school and you're there all day until I think 3 or 4. So it's more than a full time, because you're there a long time in school every day.
Mm-hmm.
and it's very intense. And I mean, dealing with some stuff like they'd have radars at the school that were operating, and high voltages, high currents, and these are old 1950s and 60s radars because they're just for training, and you're wearing these big rubber gloves to keep the 20,000 volts from getting you, and then these tubes are red hot, and so if you touch the tube, you melt the glove, and then you shock yourself.
They're still using tubes.
They were, yeah.
They don't anymore. Right? Probably not.
I don't know. I'm thinking they probably upgraded it, but at the time, I worked on the SPIS 67, which is a regular navigational radar for all the Ollie Burkes. But we learned on the SPIS 10, which is an old 1950s version of it, and that had a lot of tubes. And so they teach you communications, they teach you radar, and so we have to be proficient in all that. Then, and if you fail a test, you could potentially be set back and to the class. So they have these pipeline classes, and you don't want to fail a test, and it's hard. It's hard, and I went to engineering school, and that was hard too. But Navy schools were really hard.
Oh yeah.
Very stressful.
It's different when you go to a school in the military because you still got to do your military stuff. You have to wake up early. You have to do extra things. You don't do just your schoolwork. You do extra things, and sometimes you got duty days, and sometimes you don't have the weekend off. You got maybe your whole weekend you got to spend doing some stupid Navy stuff. If you fail, you get in trouble. Versus in the civilian world, nothing really happens if you in the civilian world. But
Yeah.
it's very stressful going to school in the military. But
Yeah. Well, a lot of fun because half the school was in Florida, and man, I don't think I've ever been. I mean, here we are in California. There's nothing to complain about, but God, I had a fun time in Florida. All my buddies and
have you ever got in trouble in the A school?
no, I didn't get in trouble. The only time I got in trouble in the Navy is when I missed. I didn't show up with the ship when in muster.
Oh, it must be just
Yeah, because I was dating this girl and just there was traffic and woke up late and I got in trouble. But my chief liked me, so he saved me, and I never got. I avoided all trouble though. I was scared of getting in trouble.
So you're in 6 years?
Yeah,
Oh, 6 years. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oof, for me getting in trouble. Oof. I don't know. I think what's on a Navy ship when you're back in your home port, you kind of just it's almost like a 9 to 5 job almost. You get to live off base sometimes you don't, and then you drive to work, but you have to be on the ship at a specific time, and if you're not, you get in trouble, especially if the lower ranking. If you're a higher ranking person, maybe not, but the lower ranking people get in trouble for being late, so it's pretty strict. So I got in trouble for that for a couple times. Well, a lot of people got in trouble for sleeping on watch or stuff like that. That's pretty serious. Like sometimes you have a certain duty or watch you got to do, and people fall asleep. And well, you had to do watches at night too.
All the time. Yeah.
So being on a Navy ship when it's out to sea is really tough because it's going 24 hours, and they'll try to make you work almost 6 days a week, 7 days a week out at sea. And on top of your working, you got extra duties. So your extra duties might be from midnight to 8 in the morning, or 10 in the morning to 10 at night to 2 in the morning, and you still gotta work your regular day. So your sleep cycle is really screwed up. You might sleep a couple hours, wake up, and then you'll have a couple hours to try to go to sleep or go to the gym or something like that and eat.
Right.
Life on the ship was really tough when it's out to sea.
Especially on deployment. It was hard getting used to, there was no getting used to it, I suppose. I had a buddy that used to say, it doesn't matter how little sleep you get. If you could just squeeze in a couple hours or an hour here and there, do it. Because, I mean, there'd be times when you just, your nighttime sleep schedule where you'd wake up at 2 o'clock and have to stay on a watch until 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you'd have reveille and everybody'd wake up and then they'd have the muster and then you literally didn't get any sleep for.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
So on a Navy ship, it's very, very strict. Reveille's usually like 6 a.m. usually.
I think so.
So like 6 a.m. on a Navy ship, we use the local times. We'll sit there adjust to the local times. So at 6 a.m. we'll on the loudspeakers. We call it 1MC, but we'll say loudspeakers on the ship will make a bunch of noise and say reveille, reveille, and they'll just try to wake you up, and they'll start serving breakfast. So that's one reason to wake people up, because they would go try to have breakfast, and you want to take your showers and stuff like that. You have to shave every day. So it was really strict. And then at 10 o'clock at night, they'll call. What was that called? What was that called? Oh yeah, at 10 p.m. on the ship, call taps. Taps, lights out. In the berthings and a lot of places, they turn the lights off or turn them to red. Instead of white lights, they'll turn it to red lights, and then you're supposed to be quiet, because other people want to sleep. But the problem is sometimes you might start your security watch at 10. So so you're working all day, then you got to do something from 10 to 2, and then you get to your bed at about 2:30. Then you got to wake up at 6 and start all over, and it just is a really rough life.
Yeah, what's Haifa? I enjoyed Haifa. Do you remember Haifa?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we went on. Did you go on some of those guided tours?
Yeah, I did.
Remember
yeah,
that?
Yeah.
We went to, was it Masada? That big. I mean, it was like a refuge. They had back in the Roman era, when Rome was attacking Israel. I guess it was Judea, and there was a king in a small town, and they kind of hid out on the top of this mountain, and they had animals there and houses that they built on top of this flat plateau like mountain. And anyway, I think they had a gondola, and then the Romans were trying to get this city and try and capture this king, and the Roman soldiers built this ramp that went all the way up this mountain. And I mean it's the scale of this is massive. They didn't have any machines; they did it all by hand. But they built this ramp so they could get their siege stuff up to the top of this mountain, and it was interesting.
I didn't go to that one. I went to the river where I think Jesus was born, or they put him in.
Right. The river, it was a Jordan
Yeah,
River,
Jordan River. Yeah,
and we went to
the church where they buried him, or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, went to church where I supposedly, I don't know.
Or was it where Mary had a vision from I thought she had a vision from an angel or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I'm not
what
sure.
she was told.
So our ship went to Israel just one time, right?
I have, yeah.
So our ship went to Israel, and we took a lot of tours there and stuff. I remember they used the shekels there, and things were so expensive in the bars. I think even in the 90s, drinks were like $7.
Nazareth. Remember
Nazareth. Oh yeah.
Nazareth.
They went to Nazareth. Yeah.
And the Nazareth Church of the Annunciation. I don't remember all the details, but I know that's something. Yeah, there was a cavernous area in the bottom, like carved out area where it was really ancient, and they had built stuff over on top that's newer. And yeah.
You remember anything wild times in Israel? No, we did have bars and drinking.
Well, we rode bikes around and stuff, and I know a lot of guys hooked up because the people there in Israel, they really liked Americans there.
Yeah, I think
They're
so.
really friendly, and they really wanted to know all about. I have never been to a city where anybody just really wanted to know everything about us and their job. I almost felt like they had. Personally, I almost felt like they had a lot of like spies or people who sit around and they just ask the sailor stuff like,
yeah, you're right.
be friendly, but then a lot of guys hooked up, so I don't know what to think. I mean, they were just like, they just loved sailors. They loved everything about it. Like, what do you do? What's this? And they just wanted to know me and everybody. And I was with, oh man, oh man, I hadn't talked about this in a while. But we used to ride bikes a lot because I was one of the lucky ones to be able to carry my bike on the ship.
Oh, that's right. I remember. Yeah. I think later on it got easier. I think as I remember. Yeah. So let's see. I don't know if you guys can see or not. That's our ship. Maybe it's a little overexposed.
Yeah, user ship right here. You got the
If you guys have any questions, let me know. If there's a certain topic, I'll make this one totally uncensored. So whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll talk about it.
Here's a good picture of our ship there. So we are in the USS Stout.
It's a stout. Yeah, see that? That was our ship right there.
Commissioned in Galveston,
Yeah,
Texas.
Galveston, Texas. Yeah. So when a first Navy ship is built, they'll have something called pre-commission, where the ship's not actually a USS yet. It's just we call it pre-com or pre-commission, and we went to this ship before it was actually considered a Navy ship, and the day it becomes a Navy ship, we call it commissioning. They have a big ceremony and stuff like that, and we did that in Galveston, Texas. It's kind of weird. So we took the Navy ship up. I think we had to go up a river a couple hours, right? And for some reason, it was I don't know why they chose Galveston, Texas, but can you think of it?
Well, it might have been where where Stout, Commander Stout was.
Oh yeah, maybe.
I'm not sure. I know there should be a story. I should know about it, but
Where's that picture of me you got?
oh
Yeah.
Yeah, where are you, man?
I need to make a copy of that. Yeah.
I took so many pictures, but some of them got messed up. They didn't turn out. There you are.
It's me. Oh, so slim back then. Can I see it?
That was where were we? I think we were in Norfolk, in the Portsmouth. What was that area downtown in Norfolk where they eventually parked the USS Missouri? I think.
Missouri. Oh, was that downtown?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's just downtown Norfolk, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had the open like family day where everybody was bringing their families.
Oh
and
yeah,
it was
yeah.
open, giving tours.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you were working the tour. I think you were leading the tour.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, because there's families and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember that time. They had the families, and we were we were cruising out into the Chesapeake Bay area, bringing the families, and it was like a grandmother or something, and we were all on the deck of the ship. And you remember how rough that deck was?
Yeah.
And there was a whole bunch of people out there, and that was Gene Garrett, Commander Garrett.
Oh yeah.
And he loved to push that ship to the limit. And he just punched it, and he's probably going 30 knots or whatever, some high speed, and the wind was blowing. And he decides to make this really tight turn, and the ship tips so far. And one of the old grandmas, somebody's grandma, went boom, 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 and rolled all the way across, almost fell overboard.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my gosh. Oh my god. You remember how steep that ship was?
Yeah.
Oh,
Sometimes it'd be like 35 degrees.
yeah, and it was like G-forces, and then there was a lot of times it would shake too from the.
So on a destroyer, it could normally tilt about 15 degrees back and forth normally, and sometimes it could go like 35, 40. And there was actually a little meter on the bridge. It would tilt like 35, 40. Well, when I went an aircraft carrier, maybe it would like 5 max usually, maybe 5, 7. But once in a great while, we'll let civilian family members go on a little cruise, and so he said some old grandma would just roll down, fell over, and started rolling all over the place. But it's kind of funny.
Yeah. And I remember the very first day we were in Norfolk, we were pulling out, and Commander Garrett put it in reverse at maximum speed, and we were going really fast. And the back of the ship is flat, so you were creating this big wave, and we're going probably more 10 or something knots. And some family was on a sailboat, and they were right behind us, and they said, "Stop the ship," and halt. And it's like, and it just. I mean, they probably could have spit on the ship. It was that close,
Right.
and they almost got munched. Oh
Jeez.
man.
Jeez. Yeah, that commander was a little captain was a little reckless, man.
Yeah, you remember Wilson? Commander
Oh yeah,
Wilson?
yeah. XO, our XO was it's quite a character.
Yeah,
I liked him and didn't like. It's like I liked him, but he did some things that were so mean or something.
yeah, he was very, very bold.
Yeah.
Like one time, there was a welder guy, and he had electrical cables running over the door, and he slammed the door, and it welded the door closed. And Commander Wilson got so mad that he took all his equipment, his ladder and his welding stuff, and he threw it overboard.
I saw that.
Remember that?
Yeah, I saw. Yeah,
You remember when he was
he would throw stuff. Yeah, he'd throw stuff on the pier. Yeah.
yeah. You remember when he was changing command and they gonged him off the ship and they gave him a ladder to throw off the ship?
Oh, did they?
As a party
I
gift?
don't remember that.
Yeah, that's funny. I like that guy.
Yeah, I liked him. He's so strict, but yeah, I liked
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
He was. You were nervous around him though, because you never knew what he was gonna do. He was very sometimes stern, but he was a fun guy. You know, entertaining, free entertainment.
Yeah.
You just never knew what was gonna happen with
They're
him.
talking about so on a ship the highest guy is the captain, and then below him we call him the XO executive officer. And the captain's usually kind of nice, and then for some reason the XOs, for some reason they're always kind of the bully, the bully you and motivate you and make you very strict on you and enforce all the rules and they act like a little bulldog. And he was a very big bulldog. I think.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
Never seen anybody like him.
but he was cool.
Yeah.
I remember sometimes they do stupid stuff. Like I had some sunglasses, some Ray-Ban at to sea. I had some Ray-Bans that had a gold frame on them. He's like, nice sunglasses, shipmate. And then the MAC guy, he came by and said, "You're not allowed to have gold frame sunglasses, shipmate," or something. I was like, "Hey, the XO said they were cool, but I don't know." So, you get a lot of dumb rules. I remember another unique thing about our first ship was all guys.
That's right.
Except, were you there when they got a woman? Was it
No.
woman XO?
No.
Oh, I think eventually. So our first ship, a lot of the ships were all men only, and eventually it went to putting some women on there on some of them, and just kind of more and more and more. And but I think the times, I think it was more fun was just men because you didn't get any kind of trouble and stuff. And when they put the women on there, you got guys and girls out, and there's always something going on. A lot of favoritism, like let's say there's some dirty work to do on the ship, and then or heavy work to do. You wouldn't get the women to do it because they weren't strong enough to do it, and so it created a lot of problems because the women wouldn't do as much work as the guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I think the Mitcher and some of the Laboon and Mitcher, I think had girls and ladies, and I used to go to the other ships because we all kind of shared knowledge and parts, and sometimes I mean, as a radar tech, sometimes somebody's radar was down on the pier, and then we would go to their ship and help them out, or vice versa. And yeah, there were some ladies there and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I guess there's politics. Our ship never had any. I always say that it's amazing because people always say guys are always having fights and violent. It's like I don't think 350 guys and we all got along really well. It was a very, I mean, it's peaceful.
yeah, but I don't really fights.
Yeah.
I remember some things that changed was like eventually it was okay to have homosexuals, but when we were on that ship, it was still the don't ask, don't tell policy. And remember, there's one guy, he finally came out and said, "Hey, I'm gay." I think he did it just to get kicked out. Remember that?
Yeah, it had something to do with if I remember the story right, and I'm not going to mention his name, but I think he didn't pass, or I think he didn't pass a drug test or something, and he was afraid of getting kicked out, and so he basically said, "I'm gay," so he could get off the ship, but he was going to get in trouble for drugs, so it was a bullshit thing. He wasn't really gay. We all knew he wasn't gay because we all hung with him when he was with the ladies, so we knew he was lying, and he told us he was lying, but I mean, he did what he had to do.
So back then in the 90s, it wasn't okay to say, "Hey, I'm gay." So he said I'm gay just to get kicked out for that reason instead of doing drugs. And so dumb. Just think you're in the military. Then if you're like tired of being in the military, you say, "Hey, I'm gay." Oh, we gotta kick you out now. It's such a dumb thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had one guy who it was in the very early days when we were just after we got commissioned. He did not like the Navy anymore. I think he got in trouble a few times, and he wanted to go. So he convinced everybody he was a vampire, and he started wearing vampire clothes, and he pretended his bunk was his coffin, and he just went off the deep end. But I mean, he doesn't want to be in the Navy anymore, so he just acting funny.
Oh,
I'm trying to remember his name, but
wasn't a QM guy, was it? That QM guy was kind of weird.
yeah, which one?
QM 3.
I think he was a QM.
Yeah, forgot his name. Yeah, in the military, you meet some people really weird. They act weird.
Well, it can be
A lot more racism back then. I think I was in the Navy 20 years. So I think in the 90s there was still quite a bit of this racism stuff going on. We'd have like my friends would fight the blacks, and the blacks didn't consider me white. So I was in the gym one day. You remember the small gym?
Yeah.
I used to work out and lift weights a lot, so I got off watch about 10, and then I went to the gym, and then it was me and a bunch of black guys in the gym, and they didn't consider me as a white guy, and then the black guys were like, "Man, these fucking white guys, I'm gonna kick their ass, I'm gonna beat their ass." They say some shit like that, and sorry, this is on censored part. So, but they're saying all this stuff, and it's like, damn, all these black guys are really mad and angry and want to beat up the white guys, and it's weird, and I don't know. I get to see like both sides of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, Funk Boogie, how are you? Thought I made you a moderator before. What's up? Long time no see. Yeah, Funk Boogie. We're I usually do my live streams later at night. I thought it would be better this time of day, but I'm not getting too many viewers. But I'm here with my Navy buddy. We're talking about stuff that happened in the Navy. So if you guys have any questions about that, just ask us any Navy questions. I thought I made you a moderator. Okay. I just made you a moderator, Funk Boogie. I thought I made you one already.
Let's see, what else? What other good stories we got? I mean, there's a lot of good times.
I remember something that changed is back in those days, you could throw plastic in the water. Remember?
Right.
So in the 90s, on the ship you have trash. You got garbage and trash, and we throw everything off the ship. I think we had to be like 3 miles off or 12 miles off. But we just throw everything off the ship. Right around the evening time, we have trash call or something.
Yeah, remember that?
We have trash call, then everybody in the departments, they have to get their trash and throw it off the ship at the same time in these big paper bags. But
huge paper bags that never made it all the way to the stern. Remember,
the
bottom would fall out, and then you had to pick up all the trash.
Yeah.
Oh my God, these huge bags. They were probably like 4 feet tall.
Yeah. We had these big 4 feet tall paper bags, and we just fill it full of trash and throw them off the back. But back then, there was no recycling. We just throw the plastics, and then I think maybe towards the end they started recycling. Yeah.
Yeah, we got one of those machines that you threw the plastic into this machine. It would compress it and melt it and turn it into a 3-foot diameter puck.
Oh, yeah.
That was toward the end, though.
Towards the end, yeah.
And it always broke down, so we never really used it that much. But we had it.
So somewhere in the 90s, we stopped throwing plastic in the sea. We used to just throw everything, and then we stopped. We'd take the plastics and separate them, and then we put them in a machine that made it into a big compressed puck.
Yeah.
Plastic pucks. And
yeah.
I remember that. And after that, all the Navy ships did that. We have these big stuff doing that.
Yeah. But it was always fun, like taking out the trash like at your own home, and your mom said take out the trash when you were a kid, and you're like, I don't want to. But in the Navy, when it was trash time, it was like, I want to do it because we loved throwing it. Remember, we tried to throw it right by the propellers, and then the propellers would eat it and shoot it out. And that was fun.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, fun when they didn't break. when they broke, that sucked.
Hmm.
And I remember one time, did you have like scullery duty and
Yeah,
kitchen
yeah,
duty?
MS, yeah, whatever you call it.
Yeah, MS
I,
duty.
I worked in the officers. I got lucky.
Up there in the wardroom?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so did I.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh.
With yeah, for a while. That means you were a non-troublemaker, because they only
Oh, you think so?
because the officers are always talking about stuff, and they only want people up there that they can trust, that are a little better than
Mhm.
like.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So they
Yeah.
must have liked you.
Oh, yeah. Uh, so it's probably like E4 and below or E5 and below. You think? So on the Navy ships, the lower ranking people they'll make you stop your job, and then you'll start working. We'll call them cooks. So you had to work in the kitchen, the cooks, and you had to do the cleaning, serving the food, help cooking stuff, cleaning stuff up. We call it scullery. Scullery duty? Mess
Well,
duty.
yeah, mess duty. It was just
Me-
mess duty. I mean, scullery is like when you work in the scrubbing
scullery,
of it,
yeah.
but I mean, it's mess. But they had that scullery room. Some
Yeah.
people worked there all the time.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And
Some
then,
people liked it or something.
yeah,
Usually put the dumb people in there. Usually.
yeah,
The
but
troublemakers.
it was a lot of work, because you had 300 dudes all eating, and you had these trays, and it was hot, and you were always burning your.
Mhm.
So that, yeah, but the wardroom was pretty easy,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
mostly, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So on the ship, you have to do these stupid duties, extra duties. So his job was electronics technician, but he still had to do these dumb things like help in the kitchen, clean. We worked in the officers for the officers, so we had to clean their rooms, had to clean we call them P-ways, but I would say hallways, and we had to clean up their stuff and serve them food. I worked in the kitchen mostly. And that was kind of nice working in the kitchen. Have you worked in the kitchen?
Yeah, we worked in the
So
kitchen,
working in the officer's kitchen was nice because we'd be in the kitchen eating their food, making our own stuff. It was pretty good.
Yeah, and a lot of times they'd have diplomats and high level officials. I think NATO, and sometimes presidents. I think president of. They have high level officials when we go into ports. They'd have high level officials come and dine with us and stuff.
Mhm.
So you got to see that and listen to their conversation and stuff. I remember it was like the secretary. It was some high level secretary of, I don't know, or something about NATO, and he was a very high level, and that was the time when, remember, our fresh water machine broke down.
I was going to talk about that.
Yeah. And we couldn't wash, and then we couldn't wash the dishes very well, and we had to conserve water, and we hadn't been to port in a long time, so we had like hot dogs.
So
everything
real
was
quick,
moldy.
so he's talking about when we're on the ship for about 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
At least.
The ship has 2 water makers, but one of them broke, so a lot of us we weren't allowed to take showers.
Mm-hmm.
So for like 2 weeks, I didn't take a shower. You couldn't take a shower. You
Couldn't take a shower.
They let some people take a shower.
Yeah, paper plates for a while.
Yeah, that's right. No, we use paper plates. So the Navy ship, it just did not have enough water to for us to take showers and stuff.
Right. Right, and they needed water for cooling, so there was.
Wasn't the toilets were like salt water or something? I can't remember.
The toilets, I think there's some kind of a vacuum system, and then they just dumped it overboard, I think.
Oh,
Unless we were in one of the nice ports, and then they didn't let us dump it. But yeah, I mean, stuff was always breaking down, I felt like. Especially electronics. Holy cow, it was constant.
Yeah.
Things work, but then they don't.
So Texas Mechanics says, Richard, what's the easiest way to buy health insurance if you're traveling to Costa Rica? Oddly, I kind of always take my risk and I don't buy travel insurance. Like here in the U.S., well, you need health insurance. I'm retired, so I don't. Like today, I just went to the military optometrist. But for me, I've never had health care. As a retired guy, military, I get my health care free. So I really don't know much about that. Sorry about that. And so Funk Boogie says, Richard, what's all the Navy SEALs training consist of? Any Navy SEALs, guys like Sam Fisher in the video game Splinter Cell? Do you know much about the Navy SEALs?
I had some guys that I went to ET school with. They became Navy SEALs, and then he ended up in Coronado area. they don't maybe. It's a pretty difficult thing to get into and then make it through. So there are things that are similar to Navy SEALs. I'm trying to remember. When we were in on deployment. This was before, this was in '96, so this is before a lot of the Middle Eastern problems. But they had a special program because I was really fit. I used to do a lot of running, a lot of swimming.
He used to be in really good shape. You were probably one of the top. As far as fitness goes, he was one of the top.
Yeah, a few of us, and then some of the guys, and they had these programs where they would come down and they would find the guys who were technically savvy, they could do electronics work, and then they were fit, and they wanted us to be going to some kind of undercover thing where we I don't
Yeah, I remember that.
it was a special operations program where you go into these different countries and you monitor cameras. I don't know everything about it, but it was essentially, I almost felt like it was like a Navy SEAL type program, not Navy SEALs per se, but it was a position where you had to have a lot of technical savvy. It was very risky. Probably had something to do with the CIA type stuff. I don't know. I didn't. It sounded too dangerous for me, and I don't like dying. I like living.
Yeah.
I'm more of a don't shoot me guy.
I'm a risk taker. I don't care.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I want to live, but I'm a risk taker.
I like when the bullets go the other way, not toward me. It sounded risky, and also there was a lot of athletic stuff like endurance and hiking. I don't know anything about it, but I know it was similar. I mean, if I didn't want to do the Navy SEALs because I was just interested in this simple job of electronics. But if you like that kind of stuff, there are other programs that probably are similar to Navy SEAls, but they're not called Navy SEALs, and they're very hush hush as far as I know.
Yeah, there's some things you can do in the Navy that it's almost like you're Navy SEAL, but you're not technically Navy SEAL. So it's more like a temporary thing. Like maybe they're just like randomly, whoever it is, the CIA or the military or whoever, they just looking for certain people for maybe 6 months or a year to do some special things. I had a Filipino friend, and just because he's Filipino, he could speak Tagalog. They made him disappear for like 9 months to go to the Philippines and do some hush hush top secret stuff, and then he never did it again. So sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, Joe, you look like the perfect fit. Are you interested in doing this?"
Right.
And so you could get recruited to do these special short-time missions, but me and him were never Navy SEALs, and I couldn't anyway. I'm colorblind, so yeah. So they got me having problems with the color vision. I actually wanted to be an electronics technician like him. In college, I took electronics. I took AC electronics, DC electronics, math for AC, math for DC, and I took all that stuff in high school too. And when I went to MEPS for entering the Navy, they said, "Hey, you're colorblind," and then I was like, "Oh, I didn't know." And I remember I had a hard time reading the resistor codes, and then so I couldn't do what I wanted to do. Yeah. So Funk Boogie says, "A electronics guy next to Richard." Yeah, that's him, electronics engineer. I'm looking for some technology that's directional, and if you aim at a person, they will get a LSD drug effect. It's not LRAD or ultrasonic speakers. Do you know of any? So could you aim something? He's
LSG.
He could actually design a computer chip. That's his knowledge. So could you think of anything like that?
Well, there's actually a book I have it deals with resonance of the body and I know if you take a subwoofer and you go down to about 70 or 80 hertz, your head will vibrate.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean we did it here at home and it feels weird. And
70 hertz?
Yeah, about 75 hertz, 70 to 80 hertz. And there's a resonance in your skull. So if you could send a signal and then modulate it, it's possible to, well, here's the story. I had a friend in electronics school, and then she
He
got
likes electronics. Good.
yeah. I did engineering for a long time, and I had a friend who she graduated from ET school, and then she went out in the fleet. And on the ship, they have these huge radio rooms. They have so many different frequencies. They got high frequency HF, UHF, VHF, even EHF, and they cover the whole spectrum. And there are some people that are sensitive to certain frequencies, and if a certain frequency of radio wave frequencies get into their hit their body, they pass out.
Really?
Yeah, I had a friend. She passed the school. She got into the fleet, and then when she was in the radio room, she would be tuning. We tune these antennas, these monster antennas with these two tuning. You tune the inductor and the capacitor, and when you change frequency, you have to retune the antenna, the coupling, the antenna, the impedance matching unit, and she would be tuning it, and then she would just pass out at certain frequencies.
Just certain people, certain frequencies pass out.
That's right.
Huh.
And so I'm assuming that you could probably, I mean, I don't know why it happened to her and not anybody else, but I imagine it would happen to everybody. It just happened to her more. So I mean, I guess if you really wanted to, you could research that, but I can't see that'd be a safe thing.
No. No, it'd probably be more dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah. So yeah, we don't really know about that one. Not LSD effect.
LSD,
I mean,
no.
killing people would be easy, or that'd be maybe in the 2.4 gigahertz would kill people. The microwave range would kill people.
I know this though, that I've heard that they have these things called the squid. It's like if you put powerful magnets, and I think it's active magnet, not like a static magnet, like a super magnet, like a refrigerator magnet, but it has to be one that is varying in magnitude
Pulsating or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you put magnets near a person's brain, you can cause hallucinations.
Oh really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's big time. If you're able to direct a magnetic field, like you would take a magnet here and a magnet here and a magnet here, and if you have the triangulation, one spot somewhat from it will have a powerful magnetic density, and that'll cause hallucinations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there you go.
So he's talking about some special magnetics, and you triangle it just right, and they give you hallucinations.
Yeah, look up the hallucinations with magnets if you want that.
Hallucination with magnets.
Then you don't have to buy drugs.
Yeah, that's true. Might really mess yourself up though. AJ says my uncle was in the Royal Navy. Now he's MU. I don't know the slang MU. Sorry about that. So anything you could talk about after you got in the Navy, or it's kind of hush hush?
Me?
Yeah.
Well.
So what'd you do after the Navy?
After the Navy.
So you're in 6 years, then what?
Yeah, and then I had planned on going to college to get an electronics degree. I didn't know anything about electronics when I got in the Navy. Zero. It's not like today where everybody's doing like microcontrollers and stuff. It was like, it was in the 90s. It was the early 90s, and I didn't know anything about electronics. But when I got out, I didn't just want to stop doing it. So I went to college, a university, and I got a degree in electronic engineering. And then I got hired with the Department of Defense doing chip design and a very wide range of work at all the different departments of the military would come to us with, the helicopter or a submarine needs a circuit board, or even a lot of the Air Force would come to us and say, we need you guys to redesign some legacy circuit board where they don't make these anymore, or the parts are gone and you have to redesign it. So we did a lot of that, and a lot of chips. I think I designed 17 different circuits on 5 different wafer runs. So five different designs, 5 different. I don't know if they're familiar with chip design, but I did a lot of chip design, and a lot of coming from the Navy, you're gonna know way more than anybody coming out of college, because it's more than hit the ground running. You have a depth of knowledge from electronics and, survival on the ship, because you're going to have all these problems. The Navy is a weird animal, because when you go into the Navy, You go through the school, you're now responsible for a whole bunch of pieces of equipment on the ship, and there's nobody to help you. All you have
That's
is
right.
what you
That's right.
what you knew
Yeah,
in
right,
school,
right.
and there is a lot of I don't know what I'm doing. I've never seen this before, and there's a lot of you just have to work so hard to try and figure out what's going on, and you have stacks and stacks and stacks of tech manuals on all this equipment, and my God, there's so much stuff on those ships.
Oh, that's right.
And when something breaks, they just go, "You fix it. You're the expert." Am I the expert? Because I've never done this before.
Oh.
But now you are. They give you so much responsibility. The Navy is so weird how much responsibility they give to literally just a kid, a guy who just turned 18, and you know, now you're an expert in this, and it's like, okay, am I? Sometimes you make mistakes, sometimes you get it right.
That's right.
It's stressful though. But then when you go in, if you get your engineering degree, which I did, my gosh, the employers just want to hire you left and right because you've seen stuff and you're practical. A lot of guys come out of the engineering schools and they know they're very good with math, they're very good with circuit analysis on paper, but when it comes to being in a laboratory or you know, building stuff, most people can't do it at that point in their career, you know, and then you know you can. So
That's good.
yeah,
So you think it's easier from the hire you because you were military before?
a lot easier. Yeah, I mean, the job I had, there was 60 people. I was an hour late to the interview.
Oh.
Because I went to the wrong building. I was on the other side of Sacramento, and I was there over an hour late, and there were 60 people trying to get that job, and I got it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So because I was able to answer things that nobody else could. I mean, they were asking me questions about gig oscillators and, you know, and different kinds of radar systems, microwave components, and then chip design. I was able to do the, you know, stuff, and they had me design some quick circuits in the interview, and I was able to do it, and they were impressed. So, and that's a lot of that is Navy. It's not just experience, it's confidence. When they put you on the ship and they say you're 18, you know, you're 19 years old, you're 20 years old, and now you're responsible for that. At first you're scared, and then you have a few successes where you fix things, and then you screw things up, and then you get nervous, and then you say, I suck, and then next time you do it right, and then you say, I'm awesome, and it's just that back and forth, and it's stressful, and then eventually you go, you know what, I feel like I can really do this. Yeah. You get a lot of confidence, you believe in yourself, and that's what employers want to see.
Oh, that's good.
You know.
Okay, Funk Boogie says, electronics guy, I seen a picture of CIA agents using a microwave with reflective shield on it, aiming it through walls at people. I think they probably do that in like Cuba. Have you seen that news in Cuba where people in embassies were getting sick and they think they're aiming radar waves at them or something?
Oh yeah. I thought that they were I don't know. I thought that they were sonic, where they did a bunch of ultrasound, and I thought it was a sonic system. But if you combine sonic and electronic, I mean microwave directed energy, I suppose you could probably, because there's something called the piezoelectric, as a lot of people are familiar with, and I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in the body that if you, like a piezoelectric, and I haven't thought about this in a while, but a piezoelectric is a type of crystal. If you put a signal on it, if you hit the right frequency it's a carved crystal, and it has dimensions and mass, and if you put the right frequency on it, it'll wobble.
Yeah.
And the body has calcium and other things, which I think piezo crystals have calcium, and I mean there's probably components in the body like but maybe bone material that could probably oscillate at certain frequencies. And if you resonate bone material, it probably will mess up the nerve signals. I'm hypothesizing.
Okay. So
directed energy.
Funk Boogie, you keep saying CIA. We won't confirm nor deny, but he's made stuff for the CIA, but we won't confirm nor deny that. We just can't talk about that, right? We just can't talk about it. Sorry. So he's asking you a question. I want to learn your electronic chip making skill. Do you have any books out? Oh, you don't have any books, no?
I never wrote any books that were published. That well, we had an incident where we published some stuff and then it was immediately cleansed off Google, off the internet, because we published it when we weren't supposed to. It had to do with certain kind of circuit chip, radiation tolerant circuits. I deal with radiation a lot.
So he's done a lot of things for making specialized. I have to be really careful what I say. Specialized circuits for us CIA and government special use stuff, and so actually you got the right guy, but we just can't talk about it. I used to work at NSA for 2 years, and there's stuff there I just can't talk about. I worked in naval intelligence 7 years total, and there's just stuff I can't talk about. I mean, I still won't talk about it.
And you can't. A lot of stuff has non-disclosure agreements because the government. I worked at a place that had a foundry where we made. We actually manufactured circuit chips, but it was an older technology. But when we did our designs, we sent them out to a foundry that made them for us. And there's a lot of non-disclosure agreements. A lot of technology that we can't. I mean, you can't even write papers about because it's other people's technology. So if you design a circuit,
you guys stealing technology,
right?
So.
I mean, how are you design a circuit on somebody else's technology, and let's just say you create a novel circuit that does something really well. I mean, you can't even really talk about it because it's not your property, and they have a lot of trade secrets and stuff. So you have to keep.
We won't get specifics, but sometimes the government, they'll reverse engineer, let's say it's not Samsung, but we'll say the government will look at a circuit from Samsung and just totally steal and rip off and copy and make their own private circuits for themselves. But of course they're not going to tell anybody that, oh, we stole this Samsung design. So the U.S. government might or might not do something like that. Well, we have to be really careful what we say, but that does happen. And so you guys published something and it was just too technical or something? I mean, you didn't want other people to know?
It talked about stuff that we were doing where we work, and it talked about stuff that the company that we were using to manufacture our chips did not want published. It was stuff that we were doing. So you would think that if you're doing something, you get to publish what you're doing, to get credit for what you're doing, maybe just to kind of talk about, hey, this is what I'm doing. But the problem is there's a lot of, like, if you look at a Venn diagram, you're going to see overlap. This is what I do, and this is what the manufacturer has an interest in keeping secret, and your work and their secrets overlap. They're trade secrets. Now, these are not government. Mm-hmm. Actually, it used to be a government foundry. Peregrine, if you guys ever heard of it, Peregrine Foundry, which makes silicon on sapphire. They used to be a government owned and run foundry in the early 90s, I believe, and then it spun off and became a private company. And I think at the time a lot of chips on the iPhones were using that silicon on sapphire because it has some wicked cool properties if you like chip design. Mm-hmm. That regular bulk silicon couldn't do. But it's a lot of trade secret stuff. That's true. Very competitive environment for circuit chips on cell phone, in the cell phone microwave, RF and microwave. Mm-hmm. Very competitive environment for chip manufacturers. So they like to keep stuff secret.
So I guess if you guys have any electronic stuff, he's the guy. I studied some stuff, but I totally forgot. Or I would have to restudy it, and things change so much. It's like, it used to be you could take something apart and fix it, like maybe a stereo, but now everything's so small, like iPhone. Trying to fix iPhone, I tried to fix iPhone like a couple months ago. It's like, it's so small, I gave up. But things used to be big and you could fix it, and now it's so small, you just can't fix anything anymore. So
it's probably not a good idea to name, like on the ship, talk about people. But you remember we had a guy on the ship. I don't want to say his name because I don't know. Is it cool?
Yeah.
His name was Puerto. He and I were good buddies. Remember Puerto?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a cool dude.
Was it Russian or something?
He used to be in the Russian Navy.
Oh, really?
And I don't know if it was defected or I think, let's see, well, it was in the 90s. So that was when, things were falling apart in Russia. And he was in the Navy. He was in the Russian Navy.
I didn't know that.
And then he left. He became a citizen. And then he was in our Navy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
How did you get clearance to even be on the ship? Because I thought you had to have at least a secret clearance to
Yeah,
be on
yeah,
the ship.
yeah.
Well, he got it, I guess.
Yeah, so there was this guy we used to work for, and I guess I didn't know he was in the Russian Navy, but he became in the American Navy, and you probably didn't know this, but he had a lock picking set in his.
I do remember.
You remember
I
that?
remember
Oh,
he used to pick the locks of the doors of the when we were in Gula. Remember he used to pick the doors?
Yeah.
He was good.
Oh,
he
yeah.
was good, huh?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. So the guy was in Russian Navy, became American Navy, but for some reason on a Navy ship he had lock picks. I don't know, and he was good at picking locks.
He was good at picking locks. And he and I spent an enormous amount of time trying to predict the lottery because that when the lottery was started opening and started up in Norfolk, in Virginia, and he just thought somehow there was a mathematical formula where he and we could somehow, hack it and win them. He was a cool guy. I don't know I'm interested in knowing what happened to them.
Yeah, we had to look him up.
Yeah.
So, and I think so. This is in the mid '90s, and I didn't even use the internet till like '98 or '99. But I think he had a laptop computer. He's probably the only guy on the ship with a net laptop. I think he had a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
So back in the '90s, nobody had a laptop. He had a laptop for some reason. So maybe he was up to no good or something. I don't know. We don't know.
I just remember he always wanted to be electronics guy too.
Oh, he did.
And he knew a lot about electronics, but they wouldn't let him. He couldn't get a clearance to be in those programs.
Oh,
so
awesome. Funk Boogie says, "I have a degree in electronics engineering too. I felt that they held back some of that stuff from me. What do you think they held back? I mean, he was an electronics engineer doing a lot of top secret stuff for things, and he might be able to answer your questions. Do you think there's a lot that you forgot? No, you remember all.
yeah, it takes some time to remember it, but I can get it most of it.
Do you keep up to date, like with news technologies?
No,
Oh no.
not really.
So now there's probably like stuff that's totally new, and you're like, oh,
Well, the field does move pretty fast, but there's always a large amount of old-fashioned legacy stuff that nobody changes because it's too expensive. And if you're if you know what you're doing, you always have a job to do that kind of stuff. I mean, test equipment gets newer, but it's all the same stuff. It's just goes a little faster, has a little higher resolution, and what changes? Combinatorial logic and using FPGAs. Does that really change? Not that much. The speed does, but as far as your core skills that you learn from college, they're always employable, I would imagine.
he's actually got a little lab in his garage, a little laboratory of electronics desks, and I don't know. You still use it sometimes? No.
Not as much, I'm busy with family now. So
Oh, Jim.
yeah, I lost my clearance, so I don't
Oh.
have a clearance.
Are you willing to
anymore.
talk about that? And I'll talk about mine.
I had to
The
deal with
basics.
the Russian
Okay.
girlfriend.
Okay. So so me and him, we both had top secret clearances, and I lost mine when I was in the Navy, but he lost his after the Navy. So we'll talk about yours first.
Yeah, I had a TS, and then
So I have to tell him the backstory. So he worked at a company, and he needed a top secret to make these top secret circuits for the U.S. government, and then he lost his clearance. Go ahead. Yeah.
I started dating a Russian woman, and with clearances, they every time you talk to anybody who's a foreign, and I don't mean like you're on the bus next to someone, but I mean if you interact with anybody who is from a foreign country, or anybody who's a citizen who was from a foreign country, like they might be citizens now of America, but they used to be from Russia, you have to report it. And then apparently they do background checks on the people you report or whatnot. And for me, I was dating a Russian woman who actually was not a citizen at the time. And like every day I had to report it, and they just got really mad. And
But the thing is, you never told them, so they were spying on you.
No, I always
So you did tell me
most
you
of the
did.
time I told them.
Oh, you told him.
Yeah.
Okay. So you think if you never told him, nothing would have happened? They wouldn't have caught it, right? It wasn't like they were snooping on you and
Well, the
spying on you.
problem is one of the guys I worked with is the one that hooked me up. So, and
Ah.
he wasn't necessarily secretive about it. So it would have gotten out eventually.
Okay.
It was just, I was just a bachelor, and I was looking for a girl. I mean, if someone maybe marry and maybe not the great judgment. I mean, I knew I was doing things I did not like. I was just pushing it. I just didn't know how far I could push it before they get mad, and I pushed it too far.
Pushed too far.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
And so he had this top secret job, top secret clearance, and he kept dating this Russian girl, and I think they told you to stop dating, right?
They
Stop
did
seeing her?
not. What they told me is we can't tell you who to date and who not to date, but we can tell you that your job will be compromised if you continue to see her.
Okay.
Right. And then and that was when she wasn't a citizen, but then in '09 she became a citizen. And at that point, some people who obviously were not well informed told me that because she's now a citizen, it's okay to date her or even marry her, and they were mistaken. So I got some bad advice
Oh.
from people who were in the security department.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay. I knew it was stupid. I mean, it was a dumb thing to do. Clearly not. It was lacking in sound judgment. When you're in the secret world, you gotta really, my God, even if you get a traffic ticket,
Mm-hmm.
parking ticket, you gotta report everything.
Yeah.
They're very, right?
All right, right. Well, I worked for NSA before they would let me in the building. I had to take a polygraph, and
Polygraph.
yeah, have you taken a polygraph?
They never made me do that. They just knew I was a liar when they saw me. We don't believe anything you say. Forget the polygraph. No,
So if you're doing some super hush hush stuff, they'll make you take a polygraph, and so there's a little building by NSA, and they made me take this polygraph, and the guy could tell I was lying about something. Yeah, one question was, have you ever stolen anything from the Navy? And I said no, and then he's like, I think you're lying about that. And then I said, well, in the Navy, we take home pens and papers and notepads, and we have all this stuff at our house, and we really shouldn't have 20 pens at our house and notebooks and stuff like that. But it just happens. And then he says, well, besides that, and he's like, no, I just couldn't get out of my head. I was like, then we go later in the polygraph, and he said, you're still lying. And I was like, it's like, well, we did steal. We stole these notebooks and papers and pens and stuff. And he said, besides that, but it just kept going in a loop. And then he said, you're trying to lie to us. You're deceiving us. And but eventually, a lot of guys went and took the polygraph. They took like 5 minutes, but I was in there a half hour. So people are taking polygraph 5 minutes. I took like half hour, but I ended up getting my extra security clearance to go in NSA. And the second time I was in Japan, I know I still had to lie about that, but I don't know. I passed that one in the breeze. I don't know what happened, but
I'm a pretty boring guy, so I don't. They interview everybody, and even people you forgot about. And I'm a pretty boring guy, so I didn't really have a lot of skill. I didn't have any skeletons in the closet. Nothing.
No.
I mean, I would have passed. I probably would have passed. Like, I never even. They asked me if you smoke marijuana, and they know you're lying.
yeah.
But I hadn't. But then when it became legal here, I was like,
No.
well, now I'm legal, so I can do it. But then, I don't know.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know. I was a pretty boring guy, I guess, mostly.
Funk Boogie says, I had to buy Force Mims books to go more deeper. Do you know him? He's talking about maybe books about chip making.
Oh, MEMS, microelectronic machinery or something like that. Force MEMS sensors, like the accelerometers and the gyroscopes are all micro machined now.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Would you be able to design something like that?
Yeah, I had some neat designs. I think somebody came out with it. I mean, there's so much going on in that. I would be silly to claim that I was an expert, but I had an idea about how they're using they're using the what's the name of that? Just a second. 0 point energy, where if you have two plates that are close enough together that by quantum mechanics, there's like a force that pushes them together. And I always thought you could create an oscillator that it wouldn't generate a lot of power, but it would run perpetually. And if you make it small enough, you can get close to that very, you can get micrometer close plates that would oscillate. It's a weird phenomenon.
Made of a certain material or any material?
Silicon.
Silicone?
Yeah.
You just get it super close to each other and something happens?
Yeah. If you have, there's springs and I always thought it would be cool to have these plates that are close together, and then you have some kind of mass, and then you have a spring in a circuit that it's a capacitance, right? Like as you have, if you have a charge on two plates and you push them close together, the voltage goes up. And so if
it's like inductance or something?
it's just capacity, like electrons.
Okay.
And then if you have the 0 point energy, it pushes them together, and then the voltage goes up. So somehow I always thought there was a way to capitalize on the fact that when you push plates together, with a certain amount of charge, the voltage goes up, but then the 0 point energy pushes them together, but the electrostatic force repels them apart, and you could create some kind of oscillator from that. And so I had some ideas and designs and stuff, but when you work in the government, they don't always give you license to do that kind of exploratory experimental stuff. They kind of have an agenda of what they want you to design, but I thought it would be fun.
So you don't have to get into specifics, but have you ever done your own personal work in your works laboratory, like something for yourself in your own interest?
I built a lot of circuit boards and stuff. I don't know if these guys, you can go on if you get this stuff called ferric chloride, which is an etchant material. It's an etchant chemical, and it'll etch the copper off the board. I used to manufacture my own boards here, where I would take a laser printer and I would print out an image on this special plastic film, and it would be a circuit. You take that image out of the laser printer and use an ironing board and iron the circuit pattern onto a copper circuit board, a blank copper board, and then you have this, and then you peel it off carefully, and then you have the negative of the or the positive image of the circuit on there. It's essentially with laser copiers, you have toner, and the toner is so I understand it's some kind of a microscopic plastic material, and it would melt the circuit onto the board, and then you put it in ferric chloride, and it etches all the copper away except for your circuit traces. And then I would make circuit boards.
Oh, wow.
And I made a lot of circuit boards. Some of them for my job, like I needed a test board, and then I could whip one up, in an hour and a half in the garage. Whereas there I had to get approved for a budget, and then I had to submit my circuit, and then they would have to approve the budget, and then so it would take like a week or and a half or 2 weeks or longer to get a circuit board made. So if I wanted one quick, I'd make it in the
I just make it yourself.
lab. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I made a lot of circuit boards. It was fun. I'll show you how to do it, man, if you ever want.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Funk Boogie says he's asking you a question. When I want to scan for an invasion of privacy devices, I'm looking to scan in terahertz, but the equipment I have only detects up to 3 gigahertz.
Terahertz. Wow. Let's see. Megahertz, gigahertz.
Sheesh. Can you think of anything in terahertz?
Let's see. A terahertz would be above gigahertz. So gigahertz.
Oh, it's way above that. Yeah. So,
terahertz.
do you know anything in that?
Well, the only thing I know is I have a book on devices that you would use a crystal detector to detect those high frequencies. I would imagine. What would detect? You would use a rectifier and a diode detector and rectify it and just turn it into DC, because there's no, to use a mixer and down convert terahertz into a megahertz range. You could do that, but terahertz is really hard to work with. We had a lot of stuff, a lot of Hewlett Packard equipment, and we would test the high gigahertz level and stuff. And when you get into the terahertz range, it's so finicky with impedance matching and stray radiation and
Must
stuff.
be the weather, or and the atmosphere must affect it a lot. Temperatures? Not really.
We used, I think we used, I want to say terahertz was the, let's see, EHF was, I got to get, man, I have not thought about this in a while, but I think well, the atmosphere has water in it,
Mhm.
and a lot of molecules. Like you got mostly nitrogen, and you have oxygen, and then you have a lot of water. And the military, for a lot of people, communication satellites, they use the EHF bands and stuff to send signals because there's so much dissipation in the atmosphere that
Mhm.
there's a low chance of anyone capturing the signal.
Oh,
It
that's right.
gets eaten up by the
Yeah,
atmosphere.
right.
But gosh, terahertz.
Do you know of anything that operates in that? Are humans operating something in that frequency?
I I think the government uses those directed energy stuff like crowd control,
Mhm.
where they use terahertz to beam it into people's skin, and like it it's not a very penetrating signal, so it goes into the fatty tissues in the skin and it heats it up and it gives people a burning sensation.
Mhm.
And I think those use terahertz stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah, or the maybe I think they use terahertz to do that. And I know it can hurt your eyes a little bit, but it burns the skin. It's supposed to be non-lethal crowd control stuff.
Mhm. So what are you trying? You're trying to find. I think me and you talked about this many years ago. I guess you're looking for. You want to make sure your room's not bugged or something. You want to make sure someone's not spying on you. So what would you do to make sure if you're afraid the FBI had some spy devices in here? What would you do?
Well, anything in the terahertz range would not have a very long range. It would probably be absorbed by, like, gypsum wallboard has a lot of water in it. Anything that
Oh, well, so we're not talking about that anymore.
but anything gigahertz in a normal range.
Mhm.
Well, there's these pocket spectrum analyzers that are really good. So if you would have to estimate that if it's something small, it would use like a you'd have to guess what the frequency would be, because there's a large range of frequencies and your antenna has to match that signal. So you would have to have either a wideband antenna or a whole bunch of different antenna ranges. But there's a lot of handheld and inexpensive spectrum analyzers that you can get.
Mhm.
I think they sell them on on Amazon
I think
now.
I've seen them before. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And these handheld spectrum analyzers are awesome. They're very sensitive, and so you walk around your house and you can see the signal spike on your on the screen.
Mhm.
Chances are there would be something there.
Mhm.
What I would imagine that they would probably use. I mean, if the government, they're going to hack into your router, and they're just going to use your router, and they're going to you won't be able to detect it because
Oh.
they'll use your own Wi-Fi
yeah,
signal,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
you'll be like, everything's cool. They'll just, well, I'm opening my big mouth.
Hey,
Probably not a good idea.
He's got to be careful what he says. He probably knows some things that we can't tell you. Probably.
But I mean, a good one is a diode detector, a crystal detector,
Mhm.
which uses a those ones where you just get a wideband antenna and you just walk around your house, and if you see a spike, you're gonna see so much stuff though.
There's so much.
Yeah,
What do they call it? Dirty or noise or
it's a noisy environment.
noisy environment. Yeah.
You're gonna see all these signals from your Wi-Fi, and you're gonna see a lot of cell phone. I mean, every house nowadays in suburbia has a cell phone tower near it,
Mhm.
and it's very difficult to detect. I mean, if this were the 1960s, it would be easy.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
But here it is in the modern world. It's very hard to detect someone spying on you. Very, very hard. Ridiculously hard.
So Funk Boogie says, I have a high frequency flowing through my room. Oh, so you have something there and you want to know what it is or something? Or just try to be more specific, and I'm sure he could actually answer.
There's
Answer.
you want a directional antenna because the trick is you're gonna have cell phone towers, so those are gonna really mess up your readings. But if you have a directional antenna, then you can use a. I used to do this. My family and I, we used to have little scavenger hunts with this thing. So basically, what you do is you create a backplane, right, which is a reflector, and then you put your antenna in front of that, and so you create a directional antenna effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can sort of scan the room and find where the emitting device is based on the fact that you have a very highly directional antenna,
Oh, okay.
and so you can zoom in on it.
Oh, okay.
A little parabolic antenna, or I mean a Yagi antenna, or one of those.
That's what I was thinking. Yagi antenna.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So Funk, we just try to be more specific about exactly what you want, or I don't know. Maybe you could send me an email or something, or if you want to be more private about it. I don't know what exactly. We don't know exactly what you want to talk about. I'm not sure, but can't think of anything else. How long have we been there? Ooh, almost 2 hours. All right, guys. So I think we will quit at 10 exactly. It's okay. So we'll be on here 16 more minutes. Not so. If you have your electronics question, you could ask us. If you have Navy questions, even I'll start answering travel questions or anything. Let's see. Have you gone to any of those places after the Navy?
Like what? Oh, the places we went in the Navy.
Mm-hmm. No, never again.
Not really. I wish I could go back, but I don't know. It'd be kind of neat.
As far as like our first ship, I went back to Puerto Rico. I went there. I went to St. Martin twice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you're a world traveler, man. Yeah, you got good. Yeah,
I'm back.
I don't know. I mean, I just be going by myself mostly. I don't know if it'd be fun, but you're very good at understanding world travel though, and learning the environment well, right? Quickly.
It just.
Adapting.
I think it's because I'm pretty sure I have attention deficit disorder, and people like that, we need something to stimulate. So when you go somewhere new, you're like this, you're like, wow. So if you live in the same city and you're like, it's boring, right? To me, I get bored here. But if I go somewhere new, you got to look. Hey, there's a restaurant. You got to pay attention, and the people are different.
Yeah.
I think that helps. It's something like that.
But you like to meet a lot of people, and when you travel, you're very open minded, and you want to meet a lot of people, and so you have a rich experience. Right?
Yeah, you gotta be more open minded because you'll start understanding some places you'll see some people so poor, and you're like, wow, this is terrible. You wouldn't see this in the U.S., but in the U.S. you still see homeless people. But and then when you travel, you just see something. They do it so much better than Americans. You're like, oh, it surprises you. You're like, wow, they do this better than Americans. And then you kind of see some things where I don't think America's the best at. Definitely not the best at everything. At some things, it's the best. And then I think me and you are about the same. Where we kind of don't like the government controlling you so much. Where you could probably go to Mexico and get away with drinking a beer on the sidewalk, and nobody's gonna give you a ticket or arrest you. But in the United States, you walk around with a beer on the sidewalk. It's so stupid that they're gonna have police call on you for doing something like that. So that's one reason I like to travel. You experience all these different rules and laws, and I think one reason why some of the popular travel areas is Colombia, actually, because you can go there and they have laws, but they're just not enforced. So you can go to Colombia, and it's easy to get a woman. It's easy to, if you want drugs. I didn't do drugs, but if you wanted that, you could get that. Everything's cheap.
Do you feel a sense of more freedom when there's not so many laws and kind of weighing on your shoulders?
Yeah, you feel like you can almost do what you want.
Cool.
But I think at the same time, you feel more unsafe.
Because if there's no laws for you, there's no laws for other people, right? You always wonder what they're going to do.
People could rob you. People willing to rob you, steal from you, cheat you. A lot of cheating. I got cheated a lot. I didn't get robbed, but a lot of cheating on the prices and taxis and stuff like that, or charging you double, triple, stuff like that.
Did you ever think about hiring a bodyguard or anything like? Or would
Mm,
you need it? And maybe that's too much. Maybe that's
I,
going too
I
far.
think if I went to Venezuela and I wanted to take really good video with a big camera, I would. But
Hmm.
if I was using expensive equipment, I would
Yeah.
like my camera's pretty expensive. I'd be really careful with that. But that's why sometimes you gotta bring an extra like a cheap camera nobody would want to
Like a
steal.
decoy camera.
Yeah,
Like that's what they steal first, and then they run away with it.
yeah,
Did you ever hire like someone who really knew the land and could kind of act like your guide and
yeah,
keep
yeah,
you safe?
yeah. I've done that,
Is that
especially in Colombia. I've done that.
hmm
Yeah, I've done that. But have you never been to like Mexico before?
No,
Not outside
not
there?
really. Just on the borders,
Just the borders.
Yeah.
Been to Tijuana?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Long time ago.
Oh, long
Yeah,
time.
with my family. Not nothing. Be kind of neat to go,
Yeah.
but I'm just afraid of getting into a situation where I can't figure out how to get out of it, and I'm just, I'm not in control, and everybody knows the region and how to get along with, and their laws are different. I just, what is my brain starts running a bunch of dangerous scenarios that I can't get out of, and I get nervous, and I talk myself out of it. But if I had someone to go with who knew what they were doing, I'd go.
Oh, not true.
Mm.
Yeah, I felt dumb once. I was in Colombia, then my friend needed help, and I was like, "Fuck, I don't even know how to dial the 911, whatever. I don't know how to do this. I wasn't ready, and I had to go downstairs and talk to some locals, trying my Spanish, which wasn't very good. I was like, "Hey, help me! Come to my apartment to help this girl." But I felt really dumb. I was like, before I go to these countries, I should learn. They don't have 911. They have some other numbers, how to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so even though I'm experienced, I should learn that stuff. So Funk Boogie says, I remember I saw the news report of a guy going to jail for farting in front of a police officer. Well, maybe the consultant consider that assaults or something. I'm not sure. So exactly what do you do, Funk? I mean, you said you're electronics engineer, but what kind of stuff are you doing or building? Or is there any more questions about Navy, stuff like that, or travel? You can ask me anything about travel. So what else could we talk about? What about like big accidents in the Navy? Can you think of any? Like, I remember we hit a pier once in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
Our ship was in Puerto Rico, and it might have been the same CO and XO. They like to show off because our Navy ship was one of the first of that kind of ship, and it was almost like a sports car of a Navy ship. For a Navy ship, it was like a sports car, and we were leaving port once, and they just like to put it flank speed and end up fishtailing a little bit and hit the pier and broke a bunch of pylons. And I remember I was like, wow, these big, thick wood pylons just snapped like twigs. But that's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of stories about a lot of stories like that. Like I remember we had three gas turbine engines to generate electricity.
Oh yeah.
The P3 Orion engines and Allison engines, and then we had four LM, I think LM or 2500, the powerful engines to generate propulsion.
Mm-hmm.
And when you switch over from shore power to ship power, they spin up the turbine generators to generate electricity, and they have to spin it up and they get it up to speed, which is a certain frequency, and then this certain RPM, and then the frequency generates at 60 hertz. I think it was 400 hertz on our ship. And they hadn't finished spinning up the turbine yet, and they switched it over. They connected ship power and shore power at the same time, and so the city, actually it was Pascagoula, the electricity from the Pascagoula city was coupled to the generator on our ship, and a generator can act right? It can generate electricity, but it can also be like a DC, like an AC motor.
Oh,
And it
motor,
can
yeah.
spin
Yeah.
up
Oh,
too.
okay, yeah.
And they connected the two before, the generator spun the turbine and ripped it all apart.
Oh, really?
And then they had to take the turbine out of the hull of the ship, so they had to cut the entire helideck out.
I don't remember that. Yeah,
Remember
yeah,
that?
yeah,
And
yeah,
they-
yeah, 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 yeah.
take it out of there. That was a big mess up. We messed up too because we had this huge antenna on the top of the ship. It was the TAC-N antenna. TAC-N is tactical air navigation. TAC-N air navigation. And it's basically interrogating an aircraft. So you're interrogating it, friend or foe. So you're asking it for its squawk codes. Who are they? I'm not a pilot, but they're asking for the information of who it is, the altitude, and all that information. Anyway, that antenna, we had the TAC-N transmitter in the radar room, and we were having problems with it. So we concluded that the antenna was bad. So we hired hundreds of thousands of dollars. We hired this huge crane to come up next to the ship and take this antenna off and put a new one on and a bunch of other stuff. We ended up spending a ton of money, and it turned out to not be the problem. We wasted all that money.
Waste a lot of money.
We just didn't really know what we were doing. Really.
Oh, wow.
And it was crazy because the machine wasn't working. And O'Brien, remember, we concluded that the antenna was bad. So we hired all these people, and it was a huge thing. And they took the antenna off, put a new one back on, turned it on, and it still didn't work. We were like, oh my God, we look like idiots.
Oh, wow.
Holy moly. So,
So he's basically, there was something on the ship. They thought it was broken. They said it was broken. Then they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix it, and they were wrong. It wasn't broke.
Yeah.
One thing I did was, in my last duty station, we tied the ships up to the port.
Mm-hmm.
And on this pier, there's so many things in a way, like the fire. They had these fire stations and water stations, and they were pulling on these big ropes too fast, and it was just me holding, and I just had to let it go, and it got sucked under the ship into the screws.
Wow.
And yeah, the ship got stuck for about 3 or 4 days.
Really?
I guess it cost millions of dollars, and they asked me to go on their ship because I did it, and I was so afraid because I thought they were going to let me off their ship, and I never got in trouble. I explained it. They had it all on video because some of the ships got a lot of video cameras. And
So you were holding it, and then the rope started pulling. And
yeah, and then they just started dragging me, and
Yeah.
I had to let it go,
Oh yeah.
or I was going to fall in the water.
That line handling could be dangerous stuff.
It is very dangerous, yeah. And it got sucked over, got stuck on the screws. They had to send divers, and I'm surprised I never heard about it again. No one came up to me and said anything. I probably cost the Navy millions of dollars, and no one ever said anything. It's kind of weird. I guess they must have been pretty obvious it wasn't my fault. Richard, they have electronic devices you can talk into English, and it translates to almost any other language in their words, and it will talk for you. Yeah, I've seen those. I thought about having those. You can actually do it on your phone, Google Translate, but it's not as good as some of those. Okay, question for electronics guy. I need to know, what should I have in my electronics lab? What do you have?
Well, I used to go on eBay and buy a lot of used equipment or go to auctions. We had a lot of electronic facilities that closed in the 90s and 2000s here, and so I go to auctions. You have to have a no-scope. That's the first thing. You can't do anything with a no-scope. These days, if you're doing digital, you got to have a logic analyzer, but you can get some of those cheaper logic analyzers and then plug them into your laptop with USB. It's good to have one that has that can analyze logic, but also have analog capabilities, so you can see sine waves and analog signals along with your digital if you're doing like D to A's and A to D's and different stuff like that. I don't know what you're doing with them. You got to have a nice soldering iron. Don't go cheap. Get a nice soldering iron that you can control the temperature and get it powerful enough where it's able to, hold the temperature even if you're, you don't want one that's underpowered, and you don't want one that's, you want a good one. You have to have a good power supply. I have a triple power supply and a two triples. Programmable is nice. You can program it and run through and vary the voltage. You have to have a nice signal generator, but those are a lot cheaper than they used to be. If you're doing RF work, you have to have a spectrum analyzer. I have one that generates. It's a power sensor, so it can generate. It can sense high powered stuff and signal analysis, and then a network analyzer if you're doing RF stuff. And so I have a couple handheld spectrum analyzers that have the capability of doing um, scalar, but then I also have an S parameter test set that can do network analysis and full full vector analysis. And then so if you want that, it's good. Maybe good to, if you're doing RF work, it's good to have a network analyzer. They're a lot cheaper than they used to be, and you can get used stuff. And you're gonna need if you're programming, microcontrollers, you want to have some. I mean, I haven't done that in a while, but you need some good a platform that you're used to. Like pick a chip. Is it Texas Instruments or is it going to be PIC microcontroller? Pick a company that makes microcontrollers and just get really good at it. You're going to need to program, and you're going to have a huge parts library. I have a whole bunch of components of everything, both sensors and digital, analog, programmable. You're going to need to have a large library of parts if you're prototyping. And so depending on what you're doing, and it depends. I mean, if you're doing high voltage work, if you also another one is a good one is a they call it a electronic load is a good one. If you're testing batteries or if you're testing making power supplies, you're going to need a electronic load to test whether your power supply is able to handle dynamic loads and stuff like that. So I don't know what you're doing. It's a huge field.
Yeah. It's almost like saying I'm in the Olympics, what should I do? And you have to know more specific. I know some about electronics. You have to be more specific. Like I'm making a radio, I'm making spy equipment, I'm fixing a car electronics or something. You have to be more specific. I mean,
Yeah,
you're asking very broad questions.
The basics are you have to have a good oscope, a good signal generator, ideally 2 signal generators, a lot cheaper than they used to be. Man, they have
A lot of stuff's cheap now.
and smaller too.
Yeah.
The stuff I have, some of it's an older, big box stuff. And so you got to have a good soldering iron. You have to get good at soldering. You have to have a logic analyzer, an oscope for sure. That's the first one. And I buy a whole bunch of multimeters. And so when I want to probe a whole bunch of different voltages, I have like 3 or 4 multimeters going. Or
wow.
some of the newer oscopes can have a lot of that already, so you can probe multiple places. So anyway, that's it, I guess.
So his name is Joe, and someone keeps calling you electronics guy. Do you have a YouTube channel?
No,
he doesn't.
I should, huh?
Yeah, I want him to get one, and I'll help you if you do. So it's not too hard.
This setup here, Rich, you're a champ. Look at this. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, I wish I could show you guys.
I feel like
I'm afraid I would lose connection if I show you. Yeah. So I felt like a little under pressure today. Like I was like, make sure I get everything right and bring it over, and I still feel weird about this angle. It's something. Something just a little awkward with the angle here. It's because it has a square room, but we put the table diagonal. It's kind of weird. It's throwing something off. It's like an optical illusion or something.
So overall, I mean, except the parts where you had trouble with the, later on, but overall, like especially in the early days, did you like your Navy experience? Was it good for you?
I was such a hard worker when I was in the early, when I was younger, and then Navy. I was such a hard worker. I'd do anything. I mean, a lot of times I didn't want to do it, but I would do anything. And then as it progressed in the Navy, it was like, I don't really want to do that. And you would just kind of do the bare minimum or something. And then when I got to about 19 years, I started going crazy because I just couldn't wait. I was within 1 year of retiring, and everybody's different. For me, it was like I was tired of it. I didn't want to do 20 years. You know, after 15 years, I was like, I want to get out. But you know, it was like it would be almost like being a prisoner. Like, oh, 5 more years, 4, 3, 2, and my last year, I was just someone tell me to do something I didn't want to do. I don't know. It's hard to handle.
How much percentage-wise? How much were you actually on board a ship versus on shore? Was it like 50-50?
Yeah, I thought about that. I think for let's see, first year is 4, right? It's 4. Then I did 2. That's 6. Only 8 years out of 12, out of 20. Yeah, so
So most of the time you were on shore duty.
shore. Yeah,
Wow.
spent a lot of time in schools and shore. Yeah.
Yeah.
I lived in Japan. I got lucky because I was in the intelligence for a while, so I did a lot of shore duty because of that. Yeah, so that. So it's ships, Navy. Can't even think of anything else. You guys have any other questions or anything, or we'll call it quits? I think he usually goes to sleep at like 9 or something like 9.
Yeah. Okay.
It's 10 o'clock here. Okay, electronics guy. I went into electronics to become an inventor, but I got sidetracked. It's to the point where I should become a physicist because now I'm like the jack of all trades. Okay, you wanted to invent some. I wanted to invent stuff too. I came up with a lot of ideas. I know you did too. I mean, you kind of thought of some things like we just never did it.
I don't know the procedure for creating patents.
Oh,
And I know there's a lot of engineers and groups of engineers that just create ideas, make a patent for it, and never produce the idea, just so that they can get money if anybody ever makes something like that. And they go, "Aha! Your new invention is similar to my 1995 patent," and you pay them royalties and stuff for whatnot. So I know there's money to be made in just inventing things without ever actually producing something.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Because
But I don't
I
know.
always thought that was the hard part was producing and marketing and selling, but
It's
you
all
don't
hard.
have to do that.
Yeah, I think it's
You
all
just invent it.
it's all in some. You got to have expertise in all those layers. The layer to, of course, you have to have an ideas, and be creative and stuff, right? And you're a creative guy, but to be able to put that into a circuit is also a skill. And then, and then all the protections you have if someone steals your idea and to make it, a legitimate patent and stuff. I've never done anything like that.
Oh,
I've been in government. We didn't deal with patents.
no.
Well, anything like, well, we created something, let's patent it. That aspect, I never did that.
Oh,
But creating things, well, I mean, if you want to create something, you either have to find someone to build stuff for you, or you have to do it homegrown. And I guess it depends on what. I mean, there's talk in the house here of making a hovercraft, so that's what we're thinking about. But
yeah. Okay.
But I don't know.
Sometimes it's just it's like being a YouTuber. You have to, like your son's thinking about being a YouTuber. He just doesn't do it.
Yeah.
I got a lot of friends who are like, I want to be a YouTuber. And it's like, okay, make a video. Then 2 years later, I want to be a YouTuber. I was like, hey, you said that 2 years ago. You just got to make your first video. And for YouTube, you just got to go ahead, take the first step, and then do it. And then
Yeah. Sometimes it takes somebody who just really wants to do it more than you, and they kind of pick you up and carry you along with their plan. Because I mean, there's a lot of things I've always wanted to do, but the problem with me is I look at something and then I analyze all the work it takes to get that, and I go, do I really want to do that?
Oh.
And I talk myself out of it. But
Oh.
But there's a lot of things you can invent and build. I mean, God, there's so much electronics now. It's so amazing what because when I was in college and when I was early engineering, the idea that you were going to program a microcontroller and then get that and interface it to some kind of a screen, you had to have a laptop. But the smartphones and the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi, my God, that's powerful. There's the level of and what you can do now is just way better than what we could do in, you know, the late 90s and early 2000s.
Wasn't it Steve Wozniacki that was with Steve Jobs?
What?
Wasn't it? Was it Steve Wozniacki and
Oh yeah, Wozniak,
Wozniak and Steve
Steve Jobs,
Steve Jobs?
Wozniak. Yeah.
So do you think Steve Wozniak needed someone like Steve Jobs?
Yes.
He needed.
Yes, he would have been just an average guy working on. I think he was working on some kind of video game circuit boards and stuff, and he was very good at building things.
Mhm.
And I don't think Steve Jobs knew anything, but Steve Jobs was just a bulldozer. You know, he was like, "Hey, let's make your stuff and find the people who want to buy your stuff." And he was good at that. I think he was very brave, bold. He had a lot of confidence in himself to sell ability of other people.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think Wozniak would have been just an average engineer if it hadn't been for Steve Jobs.
Oh, that's good.
As I understand the story, right?
So if you had a Steve Jobs, would you get somewhere?
Probably.
Probably, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You just need them. So you just got kind of different personalities.
Yeah.
Joe, the electronics guy, check electric unicycles. If you can design your own control board, you'll be rolling in cash. He could probably do that. Do you know what he's talking about?
You're talking about unicycles as far as like you got a gyroscope and accelerometer and the ability to have a motor control and stuff like that. So you got all that integrated and it can essentially stand up on its own, I would imagine.
Don't they have that stuff? I thought that they already have that stuff. So what would he do different? A lot of stuff's already mass made from China and stuff. I don't know if you could do anything unique or something, or
it doesn't necessarily have to be unique. Sometimes it's just you build something and it's right there and it's right in front of people's faces, or you make it easy for them to build, and then you can make a lot of money. I mean, a lot of stuff's already been done, but you can recreate the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
People do it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, reinvent the wheel and just do it maybe better, or maybe better advertising. I mean, I think a lot of success is your ability to advertise.
It is. It is. Like you could have 10 YouTubers make exact same videos, but the other stuff they do, their personalities and stuff, they do it better than they did what you guys wanted, and they get big YouTube channels. And for someone like me, I'm kind of slow. I'm not doing too good. But some of my friends just took off and blew up, and really big YouTubers making a lot of money. And me, I'm just kind of more casual and not doing as good on YouTube as some of my friends. Yeah. Joe can come up with his own brands. Old control board. So he's suggesting you make your own control board for a unicycle. Those are pretty cool. Those I've seen some couple times where the one wheel things. It's kind of weird. I think we'll go soon. All right, guys. I think we'll quit in like 2 minutes. So any final questions or anything like that? Not quite sure when I'll go live. Maybe next week, Friday, I'll go live in my room. I'll do that.
Thanks for having me on your show.
No, thanks.
It's been a heck of fun.
Yeah, it has been.
Never done anything like this before.
I haven't done that.
See, if it wasn't for you, Steve Jobs, I would be.
Yeah.
We would be playing Nintendo Switch and.
The quality's
Showing
actually
out.
pretty good here.
Yeah.
My house, I set the internet for like twice as fast, but it's still doing pretty good here, actually. Yeah, it's pretty good. I think I got the color balance wrong. Like these lights are very yellowish. And it's like this is bluish. Like I set mine up like a lot of fine tuning and perfection. Okay. All right, guys, we're going to quit right now. Thank you for all the questions. Funk Boogie asked a lot of questions that kept us busy, actually. So we actually appreciate questions because it gives us something to talk about. And thank you, Montero Paiza, for the 10,000 Colombian peso donation. If you guys ever think of any good questions, we could do another show together if you want to be on YouTube. We're not. we could have any other ideas. You could. Got his son here. He wants to be a YouTuber someday. But we'll try that. And thank you again. Montenegro Paisa says, "Thank you guys for interesting topics and talk. Have a good night." Thank you. You have a good night too. And Joe, what's up with the glasses you're wearing? It looks like CIA type glasses.
I broke my regular glasses. That's all I got right now.
I think I probably did that
Oh yeah, I did.
His son broke it.
when I was a little kid.
Yeah. You speak Russian too, right?
Da.
Da. Okay. So
That means yes in Russian.
yes, Russian. So remember we was talking about he lost his security clearance because Russian girlfriend, and that's their son, and he speaks Russian. He's the Russian spy in the family, actually.
And a future YouTuber.
You're the little spy there, Russian spy.
And a future YouTuber maybe too. Huh?
Yeah, sure, dude.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, sure.
I hope so. Maybe.
Are you fluent in Russian? You think so? You're totally fluent. Oh, medium.
Not the best.
Not the best. Oh.
Though, I'm not the worst, but I'm between normal and the worst. I'm not that good. I'm taking lessons, though.
Oh, chicken lesson.
Yeah.
So when you were with your mom, do you speak English, or did you sometimes speak Russian just so you learn Russian, or both?
Both.
Both. Oh,
Speaks both.
that's good. Okay, well, thank you guys for all your questions, and thank you once again, Funk Boogie and Montenegro Paisa. You guys have a good night, and see you guys later. Bye. Let's see.
Bye.